good-for-nothing kid is forced by the school's most vicious thug to swallow an unknown pill. He thinks, just one pill, how bad could it be? It probably won't do much. But the moment it hits, he's hurled into a violent, hallucinogenic state. The thug beside him morphs into a demon, whispering endlessly in his ear, telling him to soak a towel, stuff it in the microwave, and see what kind of explosion it makes. Lost in the hallucination, the boy actually thinks that sounds like a great idea, so he tries it. The microwave blows the entire house apart. By the time Lee Yoon-seong wakes up, the flames have disfigured his face and he's lying in the ICU. After he recovers and returns to school, his classmates tear him apart. Park Sang-cheol, the one behind it all, shows up with his crew gloating. "You're something else, man. Hurt like that and still trying to put out the fire. You better thank me. I'm the one who dragged you out." But when Park Sang-cheol sees the look on Lee Yoon-seong's face, he snaps. "What's that look for? I saved your life. You're not even gonna thank me? You ungrateful piece of trash." Lee Yoon-seong stares back in disbelief. Every part of him wants to scream at the monster who destroyed his life, but years of being crushed under this guy's boot have left deep scars, and so he grovels like a dog, swallowing every last shred of his dignity, and apologizes. He endures the humiliation and drags himself back to the community shelter after school. His mother is in tears. "The police just closed the case. You're the arsonist." Every single classmate gave the same testimony, that he took drugs and set the fire on purpose. Not one of them admits any connection to what happened. The realization that he's been made the scapegoat leaves Lee Yoon-seong completely hollow. He's under 13, so the law won't touch him, but the family gets nothing from the fire insurance payout, and on top of that, they owe the neighbors a massive sum in damages. From that day on, everything feels dark. He drifts through the days like a ghost. But even that isn't enough for Park Sang-cheol. He keeps showing up, forcing Lee Yoon-seong's grandmother, who has dementia, to crawl around like a dog, then filming it and posting it online for everyone to laugh at. Finally, after one too many of these moments, something snaps. Lee Yoon-seong realizes his weakness isn't keeping him safe. Bullies only get bolder. So he tracks down the best fighter he knows and begs to be taught combat fighting skills. The law is useless. It never protected people like him. Lee Yoon-seong is going to handle this himself. He will drag every single one of those monsters down to hell. Years pass. Through gritted teeth and relentless training, he masters his combat fighting skills to razor-sharp perfection. Then he gets word. His enemy Park Sang-cheol has been locked up in a juvenile detention center for his crimes. Lee Yoon-seong immediately and deliberately robs a bank, then stands before the juvenile court and unleashes a torrent of abuse at the judge. The judge rules him an unrepentant extremist beyond rehabilitation. Exactly as planned, he gets sent to the juvenile detention center packed with the worst of the worst. But Lee Yoon-seong already knows exactly how that place works. He's done his homework. To get placed in Park Sang-cheol's specific cell, he casually drops a question to the guard in charge, Officer Lee Gwa-kyeon. 3 nights ago in the early hours, didn't you use an app to arrange a meet with an underage girl? Told her you drove a luxury car, lured her in, and did what you did? Caught cold, Officer Lee Gwa-kyeon explodes with panic. He demands, terrified, to know what it will take to make this go away. Lee Yoon-seong calmly lays out his first demand. To protect his cushy government job, Officer Lee has no choice but to use his authority and move Lee Yoon-seong straight into the cell he asked for. He even tells the inmates inside to take good care of the newcomer. The inmates couldn't care less. One of them sneers. The only way this new guy got into their prize cell is by offering himself up. The words barely leave his mouth before a foot flies straight at his face, a brutal kick landing square on that filthy, lying mouth. Not wanting to waste another second of his precious revenge schedule, Lee Yoon-seong turns on the rest of the insects in the room and puts them all on the floor without breaking a sweat. Watching all this, Park Sang-cheol tenses up. He's not sure if this new guy is coming for him next, when the newcomer suddenly lowers the blanket he's been using to hide his face. Park Sang-cheol recognizes him instantly. It's Lee Yoon-seong. His tension flips into excitement. Lee Yoon-seong seizes the moment and speaks. "I know a way to take down a professional Muay Thai fighter with a single finger. Want to know how?" Sure enough, a hothead like Park Sang-cheol can't resist. He immediately demands to know, but Lee Yoon-seong keeps him hanging. "Think about it. It's your favorite kind of move." As he says this, his hand slips beneath the blanket and closes around a can of antiseptic spray. Park Sang-cheol, the brainless fool, is still busy racking his brain when Lee Yoon-seong raises the can and blasts it directly into Park Sang-cheol's eyes without warning. That's the one-finger method. Then he drives his foot hard into Park Sang-cheol's groin. A ear-splitting howl tears out of Park Sang-cheol's throat. Who attacked someone there right off the bat? Before he can say another word, fists rain down on him from every direction. Seeing Park Sang-cheol throw everything into blocking his upper body, Lee Yoon-seong instantly switches and goes low again. It's the most basic principle in fighting. When your opponent guards high, hit low. When they guard low, hit high. It finally dawns on the slow-witted Park Sang-cheol. The kid he used to stomp on is now playing with him like a toy. Furious, he starts swinging wildly like a rabid dog, but his eyes are burning too badly to open. He tells himself, just hold on until you can see again. Then turn this around. It won't be too late then. What he doesn't know is that Lee Yoon-seong is already wrapping a towel around his wrists and snaps the arm clean. Then he slams Park Sang-cheol's head into the floor. Back then, Park Sang-cheol used a drug to make Lee Yoon-seong put a towel in the microwave microwave and blow everything up. Now, Lee Yoon-seong uses that same towel to deliver his punishment. Just when Lee Yoon-seong thinks the man on the floor has nothing left, Park Sang-chul starts to stir. He quietly wipes the blood from his eyes. The moment his vision clears, he kicks hard at the unsuspecting Lee Yoon-seong behind him. After everything that's happened, Park Sang-chul is absolutely seething. He used to be a formidable Muay Thai fighter. Crushing Lee Yoon-seong should be as easy as stepping on an ant. Besides, every time things got physical in the past, Lee Yoon-seong would curl up like a worm and sob for him to stop. So Park Sang-chul launches his kick with full confidence. Completely blind to the blanket Lee Yoon-seong has deliberately spread across the floor beneath him. His footing vanishes and he crashes down. Lee Yoon-seong knows Park Sang-chul better than anyone. The moment he gets fired up, he stops seeing what's around him. Taking revenge on someone like that? Lee Yoon-seong considers it almost too easy. He pins Park Sang-chul down completely. All those years of pain, every blow lands on that miserable face, one fist at a time. Soon Park Sang-chul can't take it anymore. He raises a trembling hand and whimpers that he's truly sorry. Then, voice cracking, he asks, "What did I even do that was so terrible? We were just kids back then. That's just how kids mess around." The words hit Lee Yoon-seong like ice water draining from his face. He should have known. Someone rotten to the core like Park Sang-chul will never ever understand what he did wrong. Without hesitation, Lee Yoon-seong grabs a fistful of clips and forces them deep into Park Sang-chul's mouth. If you love running your mouth so much, then never speak again. As the blows keep coming, every moment of humiliation flashes through Lee Yoon-seong's mind like a reel that won't stop. People say you shouldn't tear open old wounds, that time heals everything, that everyone just moves on. But Lee Yoon-seong refuses to accept that. An eye for an eye. That's the only way he knows how to protect himself and the people he loves. For the next 5 months straight, Lee Yoon-seong applies the chokehold technique on Park Sang-chul every single day without fail. He orders the other inmates in the cell. Every time Park Sang-chul passes out, make a mark on the wall. By now, the wall is covered in marks, 898 times. And because Lee Yoon-seong still holds that secret over Officer Lee Gwa-kyun, the officer has no choice but to swallow his pride and plead with every staff member in the facility to look the other way while Lee Yoon-seong puts Park Sang-chul through hell. But the clock is running out. In 6 days, Lee Yoon-seong gets out, and the next target is already waiting. Right at this moment, a mysterious woman shows up at the detention center. She claims to be Lee Yoon-seong's sister and requests a visit. Lee Yoon-seong takes one look at this woman's over-the-top performance and cuts straight to it. Park Sang-chul is half paralyzed, almost done with him. "Now give me the full rundown on the next target." The contact, Joanna, explains. The target attends a prestigious high school in Gangnam. His grandfather is the director of a top hospital. The family name carries serious weight, and the boy himself is a model student. Outstanding grades, outstanding reputation. He's even on the student council, always serving the school and his peers. His everyday life is so clean it's almost unreal. Can someone that perfect really be a criminal? Joanna sounds skeptical. Lee Yoon-seong's expression turns to stone. Jo Young-beom in that photo, polished, flawless. But Lee Yoon-seong knows better than anyone what hides behind that perfect mask. Back when Park Sang-chul was making his life a nightmare, Jo Young-beom was always right there watching. Once he even said something that made Lee Yoon-seong's skin crawl. "You have an older sister, right? How old is she? Is she pretty?" That memory alone is enough. Lee Yoon-seong tells Joanna with absolute certainty. Jo Young-beom is the man who ruined his life, and his greatest skill is hiding just how evil he truly is. The visit ends. Lee Yoon-seong heads back to the cell. He scans the inmates kneeling to greet him. Park Sang-chul isn't among them. Lee Yoon-seong's expression darkens. "Where is he?" The chubby inmate flinches and explains. Since midday, Park Sang-chul has been huddled in the corner. Lee Yoon-seong hears that Park Sang-chul has stopped eating. He lunges forward and clamps down on Park Sang-chul's throat. "You rotten piece of trash, how dare you waste food?" Park Sang-chul's eyes roll back as he chokes out a stuttering apology. It only makes Lee Yoon-seong angrier. He tightens his grip to the edge of breaking and hisses, "I told you not to speak. You're not human. Don't even think about using a human voice." At that, Park Sang-chul's legs begin to shake uncontrollably. Months of this kind of torture have left Park Sang-chul with severe PTSD, combined with oxygen deprivation causing brain damage. Park Sang-chul has lost a significant portion of the mind he once had. But for Lee Yoon-seong, this still isn't enough. He decides right then, in the 6 days he has left, Park Sang-chul will pass out 101 more times, hitting a clean 1,000. 6 days pass in a blur. Lee Yoon-seong finally steps back into the sunlight. The goal was 1,000, but he exceeded it. Park Sang-chul's total count reached 1,200. Joanna is deeply impressed. She ushers him into the car without delay. The next mission begins in 1 hour. But first, a skilled makeup artist is going to give Lee Yoon-seong a completely new face. Within moments, the artist works a transformation. Lee Yoon-seong emerges looking like a sharp, handsome high school student. He heads straight to the school Jo Young-beom attends. His cover, a new transfer student. He stands at the front of the class, relaxed and easy. "My name is Lee Yoon-seong. Hope we get along." The teacher tells him to find an empty seat. Class starts in 10 minutes. But as he walks past a heavyset student, the guy sneers that his introduction was too casual. He demands Lee Yoon-seong do it again. Louder. Lee Yoon-seong glances at the door. The teacher is gone. The moment he confirms it, he drives his foot hard into the side of the guy who'd been setting him up from behind. The moment that heavyset guy first stopped him, Lee Yoon-seong had already clocked it. Something about the nervousness in his eyes said this wasn't just casual trouble. Then he spotted 2 others lurking in the back, smirking and enjoying the show. That confirmed it. Those were the real instigators. He goes after one of them them without mercy, slap after slap. The other one tries to sneak up on him from behind. Lee Yoon-seong catches him and sends him crashing to the floor with a shoulder throw. Under the stunned stares of the entire class, he looks down at the guy on the floor and reintroduces himself. I'm Lee Yoon-seong, 18 years old. My hobbies are reading and fighting. Word spreads like wildfire. On his very first day, the new transfer student put the school's top fighters on the ground. By that afternoon, a gang of thugs corners him in the bathroom. They're looking to settle the score for their beaten friends. Lee Yoon-seong saw this coming. He grabs a mop handle and takes down the nearest one first, then works through the rest without much effort. Just when he thinks it's over, the third-year boss Kim Sang-wook arrives. Starting trouble on my turf without permission? That's going to cost you. The words barely land before Lee Yoon-seong slams him to the ground and starts hitting. Jo Young-beom, who happens to witness this from nearby, is instantly struck by what he sees. He forces down the surge of excitement rising inside him and tells his companion to go ahead. There's something he suddenly wants to take care of. When school ends, Lee Yoon-seong is about to walk out the gate when Kim Sang-wook reappears, head wrapped in bandages, backed by a crowd. He tells Lee Yoon-seong to come with them. Jo Young-beom is already waiting on the rooftop. He greets Lee Yoon-seong with a wide smile, complimenting his fighting. First day and you already left people unrecognizable. So if I wanted to sponsor you, how much would it take? No pressure. This building you're standing on? My family owns several just like it around here. Lee Yoon-seong lets out a cold scoff, then his eyes harden. I'm Lee Yoon-seong, you don't remember? Jo Young-beom is thrown off. The Lee Yoon-seong he remembers had red hair and a scarred face. There's no way this guy in front of him is that same nobody. Unable to believe it, he reaches out and grabs Lee Yoon-seong's hair, checking the area around his left eye. No scar. He's suddenly thrown into confusion. Lee Yoon-seong sees the reaction and knows the bluff is working perfectly. He smoothly shifts gears and explains. Actually, I just happened to share a name with that kid who got bullied on stream. If I'm not mistaken, you were there too, weren't you? Do you have any idea how much trouble that caused for someone with my name? Of course, the right kind of compensation might go a long way toward making me feel better. You said your family has money. Show me. The rapid-fire delivery leaves Jo Young-beom momentarily stunned, but he quickly recovers. This clearly isn't the weakling he once knew. This is someone bold, sharp, and genuinely surprising. Exactly the kind of person Jo Young-beom likes most. He makes up his mind on the spot and leads Lee Yoon-seong inside the building. The building is technically his father's, but in practice, Jo Young-beom runs everything and controls the assets himself. It mainly operates a cafe and hotel, and occasionally takes in runaways. As he talks, Jo Young-beom moves toward the basement level. The door swings open, and standing there is a massive, hulking man. The moment Lee Yoon-seong lays eyes on him, his heart slams against his chest. After the fire left his family buried in debt, his sister one day announced she was leaving with this very man. Lee Yoon-seong has never forgotten that face. Not for a single day. When he pulls himself back to the present, he catches someone saying his name. The hulking man, after hearing Jo Young-beom's introduction, remarks that sharing a name with that worthless kid makes him look just as stupid. Lee Yoon-seong doesn't take that quietly. Veins rising in his face, he fires back. You know me? You're talking nonsense. Hit me then. Go ahead. The man didn't expect some newcomer to challenge him openly. He bristles with anger. Jo Young-beom sees things escalating and cuts in with a cold expression. You two done? Or do you not want to work together anymore? Have you forgotten who's in charge here? Then Jo Young-beom tells Lee Yoon-seong there's a task he needs done right now. He can't fully trust Lee Yoon-seong yet. So first, a test. Simple enough. Go to a specified location and bring someone back. To earn Jo Young-beom's trust, Lee Yoon-seong heads to the location as instructed. In just minutes, he sweet-talks two runaway girls and leads them up to the hotel on the 5th floor of the building. The speed of it catches Jo Young-beom off guard. Satisfied, he tells Lee Yoon-seong, from here on, just follow Choi Young-myung's directions. Lee Yoon-seong follows in silence. The look in his eyes could kill, but reason keeps pulling him back. To earn the trust of this devil, Jo Young-beom, he has to become one of them first. Choi Young-myung punches a code into a combination lock, and a hidden computer room appears. Inside, someone is forging a girl's ID. Two fake driver's licenses are handed to Choi Young-myung. Seeing Lee Yoon-seong's blank expression, Choi Young-myung decides to explain, Senior showing the ropes. The moment anyone checks into the hotel, their identity gets forged. They use the sucker's identity to rent a car, then flip it through illegal resale channels. The victim ends up branded a criminal and saddled with 50 million won in debt. Even minors aren't spared. Loans are taken out in their names whenever possible. So in the end, these poor suckers are left with three choices. Lee Yoon-seong already knows the first. Their parents pay off the debt. The second, work for them like a dog. Like Kim Sang-wook, decked out head to toe in knockoff brand gear. One look and you can tell. Deep in debt, no way out. Working here because he has to. Choi Young-myung is impressed. Sharp kid. It's true. Anyone in this area who's ever stepped into that hotel owes Jo Young-beom. Runaways, adults, all of them. One word from Jo Young-beom and a small army moves. He's practically the predator of an entire generation. Then Choi Young-myung's tone shifts. He licks his lips and brings up the third option. Girls with no money and no one to back them up. Jo Young-beom prefers older women, so he never touches the younger ones, which means most of the time, that falls to Choi Young-myung. He says it like it's something to be proud of, savoring the memory. What he doesn't see is that Lee Yoon-seong's face has gone completely dark with rage. He makes a silent promise. When the moment comes, Choi Kyung-myung will be the first one he sends to hell. Oblivious, Choi Kyung-myung pulls out a consent form. At first glance, it looks like a standard shelter protection agreement, but buried inside are fraudulent loan clauses, carefully hidden. And this is exactly what Choi Kyung-myung now wants Lee Yoon-seong to handle. Get the two girls Lee Yoon-seong just brought in to press their thumbprints on this form. If they do, this document becomes a one-way express ticket to ruin their lives completely. But pretty young girls don't need to worry too much. There's plenty of demand. They'll work off the debt fast enough. Choi Kyung-myung walks off without a care, leaving Lee Yoon-seong to figure it out. But at this point, for the sake of his revenge, there is no way out. He has no choice but to play along with the devils for now. He enters the room where the two girls are waiting, and bluntly orders them to press their thumbprints on the form right now. If you want to stay here, you sign. But the girls are sharp. No matter what he says, they refuse. They warn him, push any harder, and they're leaving or calling the police. Lee Yoon-seong had already figured they wouldn't make this easy. He turns and walks toward the door, then slams it shut and locks it from the inside. Choi Kyung-myung said by any means necessary, just get those thumbprints. Then so be it. Screams erupt from inside the room. Choi Kyung-myung panics and sprints over with a key. He bursts through the door and finds Lee Yoon-seong with his arm locked around a girl's throat. The thumbprints have been obtained by force. Choi Kyung-myung breaks into a cold sweat. He had set this up deliberately, put the girls in a room with hidden cameras to monitor how Lee Yoon-seong would handle it. He never expected him to go straight for the throat. Is this guy actually insane? What Choi Kyung-myung doesn't know is that Lee Yoon-seong spotted the setup the moment he walked in. He clocked the hidden cameras the second he stepped through the door. And those two girls? Adult actresses he arranged himself beforehand. He came prepared for every angle of this. And right then, Jo Young-beom appears. Watching how ruthlessly and cleanly Lee Yoon-seong handled it, Jo Young-beom is very satisfied. He announces on the spot, they're working together now. Lee Yoon-seong starts officially tomorrow. But first, he needs to familiarize himself with the job. Choi Kyung-myung will show him the ropes. Choi Kyung-myung leads Lee Yoon-seong to a room. In complete darkness, he pulls out a phone and a piece of red cellophane. He signals for Lee Yoon-seong to watch closely. Place the red cellophane over the phone's camera lens, and every hidden camera in the room becomes visible. That's how they keep the money flowing from the women's rooms. He tells Lee Yoon-seong to locate them all and get to work. Real guests are coming soon. And be careful with the batteries. Those cameras aren't cheap. Lee Yoon-seong works in silence. After everything it took to get here, he's finally inside Jo Young-beom's operation. He has to move fast and get everything in position. But as he quietly works to sabotage the setup, Choi Kyung-myung suddenly marvels aloud. Jo Young-beom is a genius. A born criminal. Every type of online crime you can think of, he's done it all. There was this nobody who shared your name. Jo Young-beom made his life miserable. That poor fool probably never knew. All that bullying from Park Sang-cheol, every bit of it was Jo Young-beom's idea. And the worst part, that nobody had a sister. After the fire left the family in debt, she spent time as Jo Young-beom's girlfriend. Lee Yoon-seong never expected to hear about his sister here like this. A sharp pain tears through his chest. Everything he'd planned to do next, gone in an instant. He pretends there's a problem with one of the cameras and asks Choi Kyung-myung to come take a look. Choi Kyung-myung walks over without a second thought, and Lee Yoon-seong seizes his wrist, snaps his leg up, and breaks the arm clean off. He grabs the power cord and binds Choi Kyung-myung's remaining free hand. With Choi Kyung-myung completely pinned, Lee Yoon-seong stops hiding. That nobody's sister you were just talking about. Her name is Lee Na-hyun, and I'm that nobody's brother. Lee Yoon-seong and his sister had a 3-year age gap between them. But because Lee Yoon-seong was much smaller than kids his age, the adults naturally placed all their hopes on her. And yet, for Lee Yoon-seong, she was the strongest pillar in his world, until the fire changed everything. After the house burned down, the family moved into government-provided housing, a grim semi-basement unit, but at least they managed to reach a settlement with the neighbors affected by the fire. Around that time, his mother brought it up again, what really caused the fire. She had never been able to believe her son took drugs and said it deliberately. She asked carefully, was he pressured by classmates? Was he being bullied at school and that's why it happened? Her questions left Lee Yoon-seong drenched in cold sweat. He didn't know how to explain it in a way she would actually believe. Just as he was completely at a loss, the door flew open, and his 17-year-old sister burst in. She looked around in disbelief. How did it come to this? Then her expression darkened, and she raised her hand, and Lee Yoon-seong flinched, bracing to be hit. But she just cupped his scarred face in her hands, voice trembling. What happened to your face? Then she turned to their mother. You've lost so much weight. You've been through so much, haven't you? She had always been the real backbone of the family, far more mature than her years. A track and field scholarship student, with a bright open personality and striking looks. Her future had been full of promise. But when she heard that their grandmother had also been shattered by the fire and could no longer speak properly, she went quiet and turned away. Lee Yoon-seong stared at her back, trembling with something she was holding in, and dropped his head in shame, telling himself over and over that he never should have done what he did. It all starts with a fire incident. Lee Yoon-seong's situation at school goes from bad to worse. To torment him, his classmates create a dedicated control group chat to regulate his every move. Before doing anything at all, Lee Yoon-seong must get permission from someone called Frodo, the one with the glasses. Every single person in the class is in that chat. So even though Lee Yoon-seong suspects Jo Young-beom is the one pulling the strings, he has no solid proof to pin it on him. One day, after picking up a notice from the school office, Lee Yoon-seong sends a request in the group chat, just to use the restroom. But Frodo denies it. And so, for the entire lunch break, while everyone else eats, rests, and enjoys their free time, Lee Yoon-seong sits completely controlled, forced to remain in his seat even as he soils himself. But that is not even the worst of it. After school, the gang piles all their bags onto him, then takes turns beating him, with one flimsy excuse after another. When he finally collapses to the ground, the whole group closes in and stomps him. Just as Lee Yoon-seong endures the humiliation with nowhere to turn, Lee Na-hyun suddenly appears out of nowhere. Without a word, she slaps one of the thugs clean across the face. Rage takes over completely, and using her athletic build to her advantage, she drives every last one of them off. In that moment, Lee Yoon-seong is overwhelmingly relieved she showed up, but when he turns to look at Jo Young-beom, the expression on Jo Young-beom's face sends a chill through him. A dark premonition grips him instantly. Back home that night, his phone won't stop buzzing. He curls up on the bed, completely falling apart, and it is in this moment that Lee Na-hyun finally discovers the secret he has been hiding all along. As message after message of total control and humiliation fills her screen, she pulls him into her arms without a second thought. You must have been suffering so much carrying all this alone for so long, but it's okay now. I'm here. Whoever has been doing this to you, starting right now, I will deal with every single one of them. That very night, a sleazy, heavyset man shows up at the door. He says he is running an errand for someone, and invites Lee Na-hyun to come along. Meanwhile, Jo Young-beom is dousing himself in cologne, sitting in a luxury car he has snuck out from home, his face flushed as he fantasizes about what is about to happen with a young woman, his friend's older sister, his pulse racing with sick excitement. But when Jo Young-beom finally comes face to face with the person he has been waiting for, Lee Na-hyun grabs him by the collar and hurls him out of the car. The sudden reversal completely blindsides him. Faced with Lee Na-hyun's ferocious, relentless questioning, Jo Young-beom panics and blurts out, "This is just how middle schoolers our age have fun." Then something flickers in his brain, and a smug grin spreads across his face. "Don't you know about the Juvenile Protection Act? The law goes easy on us no matter what we do. Keep talking to me like that, and it's your brother who pays." Before the words are even out of his mouth, a hand crashes across his face. Lee Na-hyun cannot believe a 14-year-old kid can be this shameless. If the law will not punish a delinquent like him, then today, she will deliver justice herself. Jo Young-beom crawls back into the car, face battered and bruised, still shaking. As Lee Na-hyun warns him to stay out of trouble, he nods frantically, promising over and over. But the moment she's gone, a burning wave of humiliation surges through him. Someone like him, always so proud, cannot stomach being beaten senseless by a girl. So the instant he spots Choi Young-myung walking out of the restroom, he shoves his head out the window and screams at him to grab Lee Na-hyun. But Choi Young-myung cannot make out a word. He just stands there, completely lost. Jo Young-beom takes this as outright defiance. In a blind rage, he slams the accelerator, aiming the car directly at both Lee Na-hyun and Choi Young-myung. He doesn't hesitate for a single second. Thankfully, both of them throw themselves clear at the last moment. They barely escape with their lives. But Jo Young-beom has completely lost his mind. He swings the car around and targets Lee Na-hyun again. He knows she is a track and field scholarship student, so without a moment's hesitation, he floors it and drives straight into her, destroying her legs on the spot, the most important thing she had. After that, Lee Na-hyun gives up track and field and turns to swimming, until another accident takes her life. Lee Yoon-seong finishes recounting that painful chapter with a calm, hollow voice. Only now does Choi Young-myung finally understand. Lee Yoon-seong came here for revenge, against both of them. But stubborn to the last, Choi Young-myung scoffs. Taking down someone like Jo Young-beom is nothing but a pipe dream. Lee Yoon-seong knows that perfectly well. That is exactly why he has already laid out a brilliant plan to bring every single one of them down. Meanwhile, Jo Young-beom is at home winding down for the night. When a notification hits, one of his bank accounts has been frozen, then another, then another. The messages keep coming. In moments, every single account under his name is locked. This is Lee Yoon-seong's handiwork, meticulously engineered. Lee Yoon-seong wrenches Choi Young-myung's arm further behind his back, and lays out the first phase of his plan with an ice-cold expression. Before long, you will be found, as a dead man, and your killer won't be me. It will be Jo Young-beom. Furious, cornered, and out of control. After passing Jo Young-beom's test and earning his trust, Lee Yoon-seong was handed a passbook account, like a payroll account, where all operational funds and bonuses were deposited. It was registered under a homeless person's identity, untraceable by the police. When Lee Yoon-seong noticed all the transaction records had been deleted, he restored them out of curiosity. What he found was everyone's accounts, and in particular, Choi Young-myung had been skimming money behind Jo Young-beom's back. So Lee Yoon-seong used Choi Young-myung's identity to file death declarations on every linked account, triggering a full freeze. As long as no one walks into a police station to report it, Jo Young-beom will never know why the accounts were frozen. But who will Jo Young-beom suspect? Lee Yoon-seong tells Choi Young-myung to think very carefully about his options. Someone like Jo Young-beom never lets a traitor walk free, and if Choi Young-myung tells the truth, the embezzlement comes out with it. With no way out, Choi Young-myung has no choice but to go along. But he still cannot escape Jo Young-beom's blade. Specifically, Kwon Chang-soo, the most feared enforcer in the group. A single strike sends Choi Young-myung flying several meters. Jo Young-beom has clearly made Choi Young-myung his prime suspect. He threatens talk or Kwon Chang-soo finishes the job right here. Choi Young-myung seethes with rage. If Lee Yoon-seong hadn't promised he had a way to handle this, he would never have put himself in this position. At the critical moment, Lee Yoon-seong finally shows up. But what Choi Young-myung doesn't expect is that Lee Yoon-seong isn't here to save him. him. Instead, he launches into a furious beating, completely out of nowhere. The rage on his face looks like he might actually finish Choi Young-myung off right then and there. Then Lee Yoon-seong spins around with a menacing glare and unloads on Jo Young-beom. "You piece of trash. Are you trying to drag me down with you? This guy is rotten to the core. Do you have any idea that because of him alone, we're all exposed?" As he speaks, Lee Yoon-seong grabs Choi Young-myung by the hair and drives his fist into that despicable face like a man possessed. But Jo Young-beom, now alert, suddenly cuts in and tells him to stop. He narrows his eyes and asks, "What's the real reason Lee Yoon-seong is so furious at Choi Young-myung?" Lee Yoon-seong, already prepared, fires back with forced outrage. "You told me that account was airtight, so why is the money I put in there gone? Answer me. What are you going to do about my money?" Jo Young-beom blinks, caught off guard for just a moment, then he bursts out laughing. "So that's what this is about. Fair enough. What problem matters more than money?" He promises on the spot to compensate Lee Yoon-seong for every penny lost, but he also has a proposition. He wants Lee Yoon-seong to take over Choi Young-myung's position. Only now does Choi Young-myung finally see it clearly, to step on him and steal his place in the group. That was Lee Yoon-seong's real goal all along. This kid is a genius, using him as bait to exploit Jo Young-beom's paranoia, turning it against him. But just as Choi Young-myung thinks everyone is taken in, Kwon Chang-soo, silent until now, speaks up. He says bluntly, Lee Yoon-seong's eyes are lying, and he promises to gouge them out right now. Lee Yoon-seong doesn't flinch, just smiles coldly. He saw this coming. Before coming here, he consulted his combat fighting skills instructor on how to fight someone far bigger than himself, while keeping his wig from being pulled off and still winning. The answer? Wear a hoodie and pull the drawstring tight. Ready and focused, Lee Yoon-seong lunges forward, locking both arms around Kwon Chang-soo's waist. Kwon Chang-soo grabs the hoodie and rips the whole thing off in one motion. But that move is exactly what Lee Yoon-seong was counting on. It gives him the opening he needs. The drawstring was never about protecting the wig. It was to make the hoodie easier to strip off, so Lee Yoon-seong could exploit that split-second gap. One precise, perfectly timed kick, and Kwon Chang-soo goes down. Lee Yoon-seong seizes the one moment of advantage and takes down the far larger Kwon Chang-soo completely. But just as he winds up for another kick, Jo Young-beom steps in and orders him to stop. He tells Kwon Chang-soo to stand down as well. Lee Yoon-seong immediately backs off with a cooperative wave, saying he always follows the leader's word. That's how a team is supposed to work, isn't it? Jo Young-beom eats it up. The more he looks at Lee Yoon-seong, the more pleased he is. By contrast, Kwon Chang-soo, who challenged the leader's authority and kept pushing back against Lee Yoon-seong, makes Jo Young-beom feel his authority is being threatened. He warns Kwon Chang-soo, fall in line. As Lee Yoon-seong steps out the door, the tension he has been holding finally releases. That was close. He didn't expect Kwon Chang-soo to stay on his feet after a direct kick to the face. He'll need to be even more careful next time. With that settled for now, life returns to its surface-level routine. At school, Jo Young-beom is still everyone's idea of a model student. Only Lee Yoon-seong knows it is all an act. Brutal and ruthless outside, elegant and refined in front of teachers and family. A perfect double life, which Lee Yoon-seong sees as a deep-seated pathology. Still, he has Jo Young-beom to thank for giving Lee Yoon-seong the chance to get inside that filthy operation and stab him in the back at will. That day, Jo Young-beom scores 10th in the nation on a mock exam. His homeroom teacher, Teacher Oh, heaps praise on him. The hypocrite plays humble, smiling shyly and thanking her for her guidance. The class teases them, saying Jo Young-beom and the teacher make quite the pair. What none of them know is that Jo Young-beom, who has a fixation on older women, has already set his sights on Teacher Oh, who is engaged. But just as Jo Young-beom is savoring this private thought, a bald teacher bursts into the classroom. His expression is dark. He calls Jo Young-beom's name and tells him to step outside. Once they reach a secluded corner of the school, Teacher Kim can no longer contain his fury. He shoves his phone in Jo Young-beom's face. "Didn't I tell you not to get caught stealing the exam papers? Why has the school received an anonymous tip about exam fraud?" Jo Young-beom snatches the phone in disbelief and turns it around on Teacher Kim, demanding to know if he sold the papers to other students too. Then comes the threat. He is absolutely not taking the fall alone for this, especially when he's been paying that old man a generous cut every single month. Every word of their argument is heard by Lee Yoon-seong, listening from the shadows. Just as he suspected, the teacher is the one truly running this operation. The core business revolves around students, and only a teacher could exploit so many student identities so easily. So to begin dismantling this corrupt network piece by piece, Lee Yoon-seong had Joanna post that anonymous tip on the school's website. But his goal was never just to spread the information. He intends to use the most damaging method available to completely destroy Jo Young-beom. Watching Jo Young-beom unravel in a panic right now, Teacher Oh, also listening from hiding, breaks into a cold sweat. She had no idea. Jo Young-beom and Teacher Kim from the guidance department, their true faces are this despicable. Lee Yoon-seong strikes while the iron is hot and reveals one more secret. Jo Young-beom has installed a hidden camera on Teacher Oh's desk, not to film anything explicit but as a surveillance device to monitor her every move. The words jolt something in Teacher Oh's memory. Not long ago, Jo Young-beom gave her an aroma diffuser as a gift. She had even thanked him for it. Now the thought makes her skin crawl. She wants to call the police immediately. But Lee Yoon-seong advises against it. If the police get involved, she could end up the one who gets hurt. Jo Young-beom's greatest talent is flipping the script, turning victims into perpetrators. So Lee Yoon-seong asks Teacher Oh to leave this in his hands for now, because first, he needs to cut off Jo Young-beom's right arm. Soon after, Jo Young-beom calls Lee Yoon-seong and Kwon Chang-soo together to discuss how to quietly deal with the anonymous tip situation. Prepared well in advance, Lee Yoon-seong seizes the moment, announcing he has traced the IP address of whoever uploaded that post. He pulls out the information he has gathered. He doesn't know who exactly, but a high school student definitely lives at that address. So Lee Yoon-seong proposes, send Kwon Chang-soo there immediately and bring the person in. The furious Jo Young-beom doesn't think twice. He orders Kwon Chang-soo to drag that person here now, with the situation seemingly under control. Jo Young-beom is genuinely grateful for Lee Yoon-seong's help. The one who set the trap doesn't hold back either. He tells Jo Young-beom, next time something like this comes up, come straight to him. He'll do everything he can. But of course the rate goes up. Come afternoon. Teacher Oh calls Jo Young-beom to her office. She deliberately asks for his help. The principal has assigned a campus beautification project, and the workload is overwhelming her. Jo Young-beom is just about to agree when he notices the aroma diffuser he gave her is gone. He forces himself to stay calm and asks, what happened to that diffuser? Did you throw it away? Teacher Oh puts on a look of mild regret and explains, the principal wanted it for the beautification project and took it. The news hits Jo Young-beom like a thunderbolt. He has always been extremely careful when it comes to anything of a sexual nature. Lee Yoon-seong knew this too. At school, anything touching on that subject is a death sentence. So Jo Young-beom always handled that side of the operation entirely on his own. And even if something went wrong, he always had an escape route prepared in advance. He may well have already planned a way to slip out of this situation with Teacher Oh. But Lee Yoon-seong has already sealed that exit by converting the surveillance device into a genuine hidden camera. The moment someone discovers a hidden camera inside that aroma diffuser, Jo Young-beom becomes exactly what he is, a voyeur who planted a camera in a restroom. And Jo Young-beom has just learned that the principal placed the diffuser in the female staff restroom. He is instantly trapped between two equally terrible options. After agonizing over it and finally steeling his nerves to slip inside, two female teachers walk out right as he arrives. He spins around in a panic, praying they don't recognize him, but they do, immediately. One look and they know exactly who he is, the top student in the school. They tell him not to do anything strange and to get back to class. The words drench him in shame, and they drive home how completely he cannot survive the total public ruin of being exposed as a voyeur. No matter what it takes, he has to get that diffuser back right now. Steeling himself, Jo Young-beom reaches for the door, telling himself he has simply lost his mind for a moment. He grabs the handle with every ounce of nerve he has and slips silently into the female restroom. But what he finds inside is nothing like what he expected. It is just a regular air freshener sitting there, not the aroma diffuser he is looking for. At that exact moment, a shocked cry erupts from the men's restroom next door. It's the ethics teacher, Min Dong-wook. There's something in here. It's flashing. Standing in the women's restroom, Jo Young-beom feels the floor drop out from under him. He has no idea this is all Lee Yoon-seong's meticulous design. Modern cameras can be used as evidence. The moment one is discovered, it can be traced directly back to whoever installed it. And in today's world, being branded a voyeur is the equivalent of a social death sentence. Lee Yoon-seong is going to make Jo Young-beom the most despicable kind of predator in the public eye. And at this very moment, he has Joanna blast the story online. A male student at a prestigious high school deliberately planted a hidden camera inside the male staff restroom to monitor everyone's movements. Meanwhile, following the address Lee Yoon-seong provided, Kwon Chang-soo arrives and finds no high school student. Instead, a large gang of menacing thugs is waiting for him, all looking to shake him down. Only now does Kwon Chang-soo realize he has been played by Lee Yoon-seong. In a rage, he tears through the entire group, dozens of them, and swears to tear Lee Yoon-seong apart. On the other side, Min Dong-wook has confirmed it. There is a camera hidden inside the aroma diffuser, and he immediately thinks of a way to catch the culprit. Forensic analysis of the camera, or tracing the model number online, find the purchase date and location, and the person behind it won't stay hidden for long. Someone who plants hidden cameras in this school needs to be rooted out completely. Every word drills into Jo Young-beom's ears like ice. For the first time, he feels the full, terrifying weight of what sex crime education in this country actually means, and the fear of being branded a sex offender. The dread is unbearable. He cannot sit still. At this point, getting caught is only a matter of time. But just as he has no idea how to get out of this, Lee Yoon-seong calls, cheerfully reporting on the day's completed tasks. Jo Young-beom is in no state to hear any of it. He's about to hang up when Lee Yoon-seong notices something is off. With genuine-sounding sincerity, he tells Jo Young-beom, whatever it is, just say it. He'll do everything he can. To someone as isolated and cornered as Jo Young-beom, those words feel like a lifeline. He goes to meet Lee Yoon-seong immediately. He makes up a vague personal reason and asks Lee Yoon-seong to retrieve something for him. A blue aroma diffuser sitting in a teacher's drawer. Lee Yoon-seong agrees without hesitation, because getting that diffuser back will only drag Jo Young-beom deeper into the trap. Jo Young-beom, completely unaware, just keeps thanking Lee Yoon-seong over and over. He even marvels that Lee Yoon-seong is more useful than Kwon Chang-soo, who is supposed to be the best fighter of the group. Relieved at last, Jo Young-beom goes to remove the memory card from the diffuser, and then he sees it. Something on the base of the device, blinking red. Before he can even figure out what it is, he hears Min Dong-wook's urgent voice. Min Dong-wook is in a car, phone in hand, yelling into it, almost at the location the tracker is showing. Just like Teacher O said, that has to be our guy. That day, after Lee Yoon-seong exposed Jo Young-beom to Teacher O, he produced a GPS tracker and asked her to attach it to the aroma diffuser, before quietly placing the diffuser in the male staff restroom. This way they could confirm whether Jo Young-beom would come for it and prove his guilt. Sure enough, Teacher O witnessed it with her own eyes. After careful consideration, she asked Min Dong-wook to go inspect the diffuser in the men's restroom, and that is why Min Dong-wook is now hunting the culprit down. Cornered in an alley, Jo Young-beom smashes the diffuser to pieces, desperate to destroy the evidence. He digs through the wreckage and finds the memory card. At the worst possible moment, Min Dong-wook catches up. To save himself, Jo Young-beom has no choice but to run with everything he has, sprinting through the alleyways in a frenzy. Exhausted, he finally ducks into an underground parking garage. He watches Min Dong-wook stumble around the garage, searching blindly. Jo Young-beom clutches the memory card, seething. All he has to do is destroy it, wait for Min Dong-wook to give up, and this whole nightmare ends without a scratch. But Min Dong-wook refuses to let this go. He calls out, "As an educator, I am giving you one last chance. If you turn yourself in before I count to 3, I can still handle this with some leniency." And he starts counting. Each number strikes like a hammer blow, hammering at what remains of Jo Young-beom's composure. When 3 arrives, silence. Min Dong-wook gets nothing. Utterly disappointed, he pulls out his last resort, walking through the garage calling out, "Hey Siri!" The entire parking garage fills with his voice, calling every voice assistant he knows. It takes a moment for the nearly broken Jo Young-beom to remember. He has his phone on him. He reaches to hold the power button down, and his phone lights up, answering Min Dong-wook's call on its own. 3 words flash through Jo Young-beom's mind. It's all over. He slowly looks up and meets the face of the man standing behind him. Jo Young-beom feels, for the first time, the suffocating terror of being watched from behind. But even now, even exposed, he will not stop running until the very last moment. Meanwhile, Kwon Chang-soo has finally tracked down Lee Yoon-seong. The fury of betrayal consumes him entirely. He launches at Lee Yoon-seong without mercy. This time, Lee Yoon-seong has learned his lesson. He dodges the low strike immediately, but that dodge was the feint. In the same instant, Lee Yoon-seong grabs Kwon Chang-soo's arm and drives him into the ground with a shoulder throw. The miscalculation enrages Kwon Chang-soo, but he catches himself. He has to stay calm. The more things go wrong, the more he needs to control his emotions. That is the only way to win. But Kwon Chang-soo has overlooked something. Lee Yoon-seong is not a simple opponent. Creating space between them, Lee Yoon-seong asks with what sounds like genuine confusion, "Why did you become Jo Young-beom's right hand? Why do all his dirty work?" The question stops Kwon Chang-soo cold. A mother, gravely ill, in need of hospital care, and the grandson of a hospital director willing to help. Kwon Chang-soo, with nothing, had no other choice. For his mother's sake, he had to take whatever Jo Young-beom offered. Before Kwon Chang-soo finishes, Lee Yoon-seong suddenly hurls his hat at him. The same trick as before, sending him stumbling to the ground. Then Lee Yoon-seong pulls out his sleeve, loops it tight around Kwon Chang-soo's neck, and applies pressure. A few seconds is all it takes for the sleeve choke to do its work. But Kwon Chang-soo's will is something else entirely. He drags himself back from the edge of unconsciousness and fights his way back to his feet. What he doesn't realize is that standing up gives Lee Yoon-seong behind him even more leverage. Under the doubled pressure, Kwon Chang-soo's consciousness begins to slip. In that haze, a memory surfaces, a nature documentary he once watched. Crocodiles in the Amazon, opportunistic apex predators. Their defining trait, once they clamp down, they never let go. And right now, Kwon Chang-soo is the deer in the crocodile's jaws. No matter how hard he struggles, it changes nothing. As Kwon Chang-soo finally goes limp, Lee Yoon-seong takes out his phone and tells Joanna to come here now. It's time to end this. Time to let Jo Young-beom know the truth. On the other side, Jo Young-beom's run comes to an end. Min Dong-wook catches him, but Jo Young-beom, completely unhinged, cannot accept losing everything he has built. He raises his foot and drives it into Min Dong-wook's face. "Why can't you just stay in your classroom and teach? Why come after me and ruin a student's future? If you had just kept your mouth shut, all of this would have passed. Why did you have to make it your business?" And with that, Jo Young-beom's rage takes over completely. He kicks Min Dong-wook until the man is a bloody, unconscious heap, now free of that obstacle. And just before the police close in, Jo Young-beom slips out through another exit of the parking garage. Everyone has that one day when nothing goes right no matter what they do. Today is that day for Jo Young-beom. He tries to reach Kwon Chang-soo. No answer again and again. Alone, helpless, with no idea what to do next. Lee Yoon-seong appears around the corner. For just a split second, a bad feeling flashes through Jo Young-beom. But Lee Yoon-seong quickly explains. This is just the entrance to Jo Young-beom's building. He was only coming by to pick something up. Jo Young-beom lets his guard down. His legs give out, and he slumps straight into Lee Yoon-seong's arms. "Sorry, can you help me get to the office? You're the only one I can trust right now." All that effort, all that maneuvering, and Lee Yoon-seong has finally earned Jo Young-beom's complete trust. Now, let this wretched monster go back where he belongs. In one swift move, Lee Yoon-seong locks his arm around Jo Young-beom's neck. Jo Young-beom goes limp. Jo Young-beom jolts awake in the cold rain, only to find himself sitting on a diving platform, several meters above the ground. He panics, loses his footing, and plunges straight down into the filled pool below. Worse, Jo Young-beom cannot swim. Thrashing desperately at the surface, he screams for anyone to help him. Then a sharp pain erupts from his feet, Confused and terrified, he forces himself under to look, and what he sees turns his blood cold. The bottom of the pool is covered in thumbtacks. He explodes back to the surface in sheer horror. As he tries to make sense of how he ended up in this godforsaken place, he turns and sees someone sitting calmly at the edge of the pool. He looks closer, and it's Lee Yoon-seong. Jo Young-beom erupts in fury. "You piece of trash, why are you doing this to me?" Lee Yoon-seong doesn't answer. Instead, he turns the question back on Jo Young-beom. "Do you know the story of the Little Mermaid? The one who desperately wanted legs?" Jo Young-beom has no idea what he's talking about. This piece of trash has completely forgotten everything he's done. Lee Yoon-seong's rage surges. He yanks the cover off the pool drain. Fine, then he'll just have to help Jo Young-beom remember. Lee Na-hyun was an extraordinary person. She lost both her legs in an accident, but she refused to break. She took up swimming instead. She made a name for herself in amateur competitions, crushing the field with her performance. Media outlets were lining up to cover her story. But just as things were finally turning around, a lawsuit she should have won destroyed everything. As the victim of the hit and run, Na-hyun filed charges against Jo Young-beom for deliberate assault. But Jo Young-beom claimed he had accidentally confused the gas pedal with the brake. She believed the judge would stand on the side of justice. But the judge used Jo Young-beom's minor status and lack of formal driving education as grounds for leniency. The judge even declared there was no evidence to prove deliberate intent, no cameras at the scene. The dash cam in the vehicle was switched off, and after the incident, the defendant had attempted to reach a settlement. Based on all of the above, the judge handed down his ruling. Jo Young-beom was sentenced to 180 hours of community service. That outrageous verdict broke Na-hyun. She grew quieter with each passing day. Then, not long after, an article surfaced online, and it shattered the last piece of her will to live. No one could have seen it coming. Jo Young-beom had insisted all along that the dash cam was off, but the moment the trial ended, he quietly extracted the audio and leaked it to the press. Overnight, Na-hyun went from victim to accused, labeled a predator who had sexually harassed a minor. She became the perfect target for a public witch hunt. It felt like being rolled across a bed of sharp needles. No matter how much she screamed, it never stopped. People saw the sensational headlines and passed judgment, deaf to the sound of her pain. Na-hyun never said another word. When Lee Yoon-seong called her over and over again, she was already like a hollow puppet with no soul left inside. Facing the world that had given her both joy and unbearable suffering, she stepped off the rooftop, without a moment's hesitation. In the cruelest way imaginable, she said goodbye to Lee Yoon-seong, who arrived too late. For all his maturity, he was still just an ordinary high school student. This was a version of the Little Mermaid that almost no one tells, the one that ends in tragedy. The girl was bright and pure at heart, but her voice was stolen from her, and she could never speak the truth. So, does any of this ring a bell? Still nothing? Maybe you need a little reminder. Lee Yoon-seong steps straight into the pool. In one swift move, he sweeps Jo Young-beom off his feet. If a hint still isn't enough to jog your memory, then you deserve to be punished. Jo Young-beom hits the ground and screams. The thumbtacks tear right into him. Lee Yoon-seong put serious thought into making this happen, making sure this piece of trash gets to roll across the same bed of needles. But what's truly infuriating is that even now, Jo Young-beom still doesn't understand why he's suffering. Lee Yoon-seong is done wasting words. He tears off the mask he's worn for weeks and says, "Didn't I tell you from the very beginning? I'm Lee Yoon-seong, the one whose life you controlled, and whose sister you took from him. The fool you played like a puppet, Lee Na-hyun's only brother, Lee Yoon-seong. So, does it all come back to you now?" But Jo Young-beom, hauled up by one hand, is only focused on the thumbtacks inches from his face. He snarls without a shred of remorse. "You're committing a crime right now, Lee Yoon-seong. Assault, kidnapping. The security cameras here caught everything. What Jo Young-beom doesn't know is that Lee Yoon-seong planned every detail before setting foot in here." He lets go, dropping Jo Young-beom straight onto the thumbtack-covered floor. Watching this cold-blooded coward finally feel pain, Lee Yoon-seong grabs him by the collar, burning with rage, and slaps that disgusting face again and again and again. This place has been abandoned for years. There are no cameras, not a single one, and Lee Yoon-seong drove here in Jo Young-beom's own car. He has all the time in the world to make this man face what he's done. But something catches Lee Yoon-seong off guard. How does Jo Young-beom still have the nerve to drive the same car that took Na-hyun's legs? Those words make Jo Young-beom's blood boil. He screams, "Why are you doing this to me? Did I burn your house down? Did I kill your sister? Everything that happened, wasn't that all because of you, you idiot?" The words are barely out of his mouth before a hand cracks across his face. The feeling of striking his enemy with his bare hand sends a rush through Lee Yoon-seong. Good. Jo Young-beom hasn't changed one bit. Still a piece of trash. Still the same selfish coward. That makes it so much easier to let everything out without holding back. Blow after blow lands across Jo Young-beom's face. Lee Yoon-seong will carve the name Lee Na-hyun into this man's skull, so deep he can never forget it for the rest of his life. You took her legs. You took her voice. And in the end, you took her life too. That little mermaid's name was Lee Na-hyun. Jo Young-beom is beaten to a bloody pulp. Lee Yoon-seong gives him one final chance to offer a sincere apology to him and to Na-hyun. Jo Young-beom's face is swollen beyond recognition. His lips twitch. For a moment it looks like he might actually say the words, but then he bursts into a wild, unhinged laugh like a man with nothing left to lose. "Drop dead, you little punk. Why would I ever apologize to you? How exactly am I supposed to apologize to your sister in hell?" As the words leave his mouth, Jo Young-beom fixes his eyes on something behind Lee Yoon-seong. Kwon Chang-soo, his own enforcer, steps into view, looking absolutely menacing. Jo Young-beom nearly loses it with relief. Help has finally arrived. "Where the hell have you been? I've been calling you non-stop. Get over here and finish this guy off." But the moment those words land, a fist slams into Jo Young-beom's face. Kwon Chang-soo, the loyal enforcer, is the one throwing the punches at his own boss. Tears streaming down his face, he chokes out, "Why did you lie to me? How could you look me in the eye and say it with such a straight face? Telling me my mother's condition couldn't be operated on, that conservative treatment was the only option, promising to have the hospital director look after her personally, saying you'd cover as much of the ongoing treatment costs as you could. You looked so sincere, and I believed every word, gave everything to do your dirty work. If Lee Yoon-seong hadn't told me after our fight that her condition required surgery from the very beginning, I would still be calling you my benefactor. I never would have known I was being used." But even with Lee Yoon-seong's evidence, taking legal action is nearly impossible. The odds of winning a medical malpractice case are less than 1%. Even if it went public, Jo Young-beom's family has enough power and money to bury it. So the only thing Kwon Chang-soo can do is answer pain with pain. Jo Young-beom made his mother suffer. Now let him feel what suffering actually means. Because sometimes, fists are worth more than the law. And today, Kwon Chang-soo is going to beat Jo Young-beom to death for his mother, who will spend the rest of her life in a hospital bed. The words barely leave his mouth before he unleashes everything on Jo Young-beom. Every ounce of hatred poured out through his fists. But just as Kwon Chang-soo loses himself completely, Lee Yoon-seong steps forward and grabs his arm. "That's enough. Beating him more won't get your mother's medical bills paid." Kwon Chang-soo forces himself to stop. He turns to Jo Young-beom. "Get the money ready by next week. I'm moving my mother to a different hospital. If you don't, you're a dead man." Kwon Chang-soo leaves, exhausted, shattered, done. Lee Yoon-seong pulls out a hard drive and holds it up. "Your good friend Choi Gyung-myung told me there's a portable hard drive in your office drawer. Every dirty secret you've ever buried, it's all on here. This is why I got close to you from the very beginning. Jo Young-beom, it's over. You have nothing left." Jo Young-beom stares in disbelief, then his eyes fill with tears. "I'm sorry. I've done something unforgivable. I'm only apologizing now. You must have been in so much pain. I'll turn myself in. I'll spend the rest of my life making it right." But even as the words come out, his eyes dart sideways. He clocks the car keys on the ground nearby, and the moment Lee Yoon-seong's guard drops, Jo Young-beom snatches them up like lightning. He bolts for the exit with everything he has. Turn himself in? Not a chance in hell. All he has to do is get home. His parents, their money, their connections, will make all of this disappear. But just as he fires up the engine, ready to floor it, Lee Yoon-seong steps directly in front of the car. "This is your last chance to apologize. If you drive away now, there's no coming back from this." But Jo Young-beom has never believed he did anything wrong. He ignores every word, slams the gas and tears out of there. On the road, Jo Young-beom's fury builds with every passing second. He's not the kind of person who lets anything go. This humiliation is unacceptable. He reaches for his phone, ready to pull the same trick again, leak a distorted story to the press. But at that exact moment he realizes the road ahead is blocked. Barricades out of nowhere. In a panic, Jo Young-beom slams on the brakes, but the brakes don't respond. In seconds, the car smashes into the barricade and goes straight over the edge of the cliff, taking Jo Young-beom with it. As the dust settles, Joanna reassures Lee Yoon-seong there's nothing to worry about. The construction zone was sealed off in advance. No one else could have been anywhere near there. Lee Yoon-seong trusts Joanna completely. What weighs on him is something else. Jo Young-beom chose death over a single honest apology, but it's over now. Even if it came too late, Na-hyun can finally rest. A few days later, Joanna goes to meet Jo Young-beom's parents. She puts the evidence on the table without preamble. Every item on the list, a crime their son committed with his own hands. If this goes to the police, it will destroy your entire family. Jo Young-beom's father opens his mouth to push back. Then Joanna produces a photograph, him and the judge, together. Proof that he bribed the judge to bury his son's hit-and-run case. The color drains from his face. He'll agree to anything. Joanna says she only has one condition. Have Jo Young-beom, who has lost the use of one leg, committed to a psychiatric facility, immediately. Compared to juvenile detention, a psychiatric facility is generous, and Joanna has no interest in making this public. After all, an investigation would drag everyone into it. She slides an admission consent form across the table. This is a contract that requires the primary authorizing guardian's approval for discharge. Family consent alone is not enough. Without that authorization, Jo Young-beom can never leave. The couple doesn't hesitate. Compared to prison, a hospital is the lesser evil. Besides, the spinal cord injury is severe. All the central nervous system connections on his left side, between the upper and lower body, are destroyed. He won't be able to care for himself. Meanwhile, Lee Yoon-seong gets the message. Everything is wrapped up. The shadow that has hung over him for so long finally begins to lift. Now, on to the next one. Across town, inside a filming studio, two up-and-coming names in the entertainment world are taping an interview. The one in the hot seat is actor Shin Min-woo. The one asking questions is Kang Joon-hyuk, a journalist turned entertainer. But when Kang Joon-hyuk follows his prompt card, asking Shin Min-woo what he was like back in his school days, Shin Min-woo's expression shifts completely. He snaps at his manager. Why on earth was this person booked to interview him? The outburst makes everyone on set uncomfortable. Murmurs spread. It looks like Shin Min-woo is hiding something, and right as the set descends into confusion, Lee Yoon-seong appears, disguised as a delivery worker. He hands an envelope to the director. Could you pass this along? It's not for Shin Min-woo, it's for Kang Joon-hyuk. Once he opens it, he'll understand, because what's inside is a record of what Kang Joon-hyuk once did to Lee Yoon-seong. It's also the meaning behind the third tattoo on Lee Yoon-seong's body. Kang Joon-hyuk, thinking it's a fan gift, tears it open eagerly, buzzing with excitement. But the instant he sees what's inside, his smile freezes. Shin Min-woo snatches it out of his hands. Both of them stare at the photo, stunned. A smirking thug with dyed yellow hair, who looks exactly like Shin Min-woo. Before Kang Jun-hyuk can even process what he's looking at, Shin Min-woo grabs him by the jaw. You want to keep working in this industry? Then shut your mouth and pretend you saw nothing, or I will end you. Kang Jun-hyuk goes completely silent. He never imagined the man who has always been so polished and well-mannered in public is a savage, violent monster behind closed doors. And the truth is, Shin Min-woo was just as rotten back in school as Jo Young-beom, in some ways even worse. The reason Lee Yoon-seong was bullied in middle school, it was Shin Min-woo who started it all. Park Sang-cheol and Jo Young-beom just followed his lead. 4 years ago, when Lee Yoon-seong had just started middle school, he barely knew who Shin Min-woo was. They went to the same elementary school, but that was the only connection. Lee Yoon-seong had heard the rumors that Shin Min-woo was trouble, but Lee Yoon-seong had always been timid. He made a point of steering clear of anyone like that, but because of his chronic stomach problems, he kept running into that crowd in the bathroom, doing things that were strictly against school rules, and eventually they noticed him. Then one day, out of nowhere, Shin Min-woo, who had never once spoken to him, struck up a conversation. Acting like they were old friends, he asked if they could swap seats. Lee Yoon-seong thought nothing of it, just a simple favor. Then during class, the familiar cramp hit him. He could barely hold it. He had to get up, but Shin Min-woo reached over and put a hand on his shoulder. Hey, do me a favor and stay put in front of me. I'm a little tired. I want a nap. Lee Yoon-seong, who had never been able to say no to anyone, sat there like a fool, cramping in silence, and agreed. He didn't get to use the bathroom for 3 entire class periods. More accurately, Shin Min-woo deliberately kept him there. He knew exactly how kids work, how they'll turn on someone for the most petty, ridiculous reason, and he knew just how easy it is to make it happen. So when Lee Yoon-seong finally rushed to the bathroom, doing nothing but what anyone would do, a group of kids were waiting with their phones, filming him, mocking him as the kid who was obsessed with the bathroom. Just like that, he became the outcast of the entire first year. And the reason Shin Min-woo chose Lee Yoon-seong as his target? Simply because he looked easy to mess with. He even pushed his friend Park Sang-cheol to go ahead and devour that little lamb. He later claimed it was just a joke, but Park Sang-cheol, with his particular appetites, took it seriously. And from that day on, Lee Yoon-seong's life became a living hell, until the day he became strong enough to fight back. He went through juvenile detention. He beat Park Sang-cheol into permanent disability. He made Jo Young-beom pay. He's given each of them a life worse than death. And Shin Min-woo, the one who started it all, the worst of them, Lee Yoon-seong has something entirely different planned for him. Unlike the careful, meticulous strategy he used to get close to Jo Young-beom, with Shin Min-woo, the public figure, brute force is all it takes. Lee Yoon-seong rides his motorcycle straight at Shin Min-woo's car, forcing it to a stop. He pulls out a baseball bat and hammers the windows without mercy. Glass shatters everywhere. Then he reaches in, grabs Shin Min-woo by the throat, and drags him out of the car, throwing him onto the ground. Lee Yoon-seong was once their prey, hunted and helpless. No matter how much he wanted to escape, he couldn't. Now it's Shin Min-woo's turn to know what that feels like. He pins Shin Min-woo down and goes to work. Every time Lee Yoon-seong looks at that face, he feels like he could never hit it enough. But the game is just getting started. Ending it too soon would be letting him off easy. So when Shin Min-woo's manager comes running to intervene, Lee Yoon-seong spins and launches a kick, sending him flying. Then he's back on the motorcycle and gone, swallowed by the night. The next day, news of Shin Min-woo's hospitalization, serious injuries, draws a swarm of reporters demanding to know what happened. But Shin Min-woo himself is just as lost. The attacker wore a helmet, came at him without a single word. He never got a clear look at the face. But regardless of who's behind this, Shin Min-woo is not letting it slide. Just then, Ryu Won-dong, CEO of YP Entertainment, walks in. He shoots his staff a look and has the reporters cleared out immediately. Then he walks straight up to Shin Min-woo's hospital bed. This is actually great material, he says with a sly grin. You're all over the news right now. Play it right, and this could be the moment that puts you on the map. But Shin Min-woo cuts him off, seething. I don't care about any of that. I want that guy dead. Ryu Won-dong tells him to relax. It's already being handled. Through a contact on the force, they've already tracked down the attacker's identity. The crew just needs to move. They'll drag him in and let Shin Min-woo do whatever he wants with him. That settles Shin Min-woo down a little. He starts scrolling through the coverage of himself. As a public figure, he's always had to watch his image obsessively. The constant anxiety of it wears him out. But Ryu Won-dong waves it off. If anything, this incident has handed them a perfect story. Shin Min-woo, the loyal artist who took a beating to protect his manager, a righteous victim. He's already taking calls from journalists, pitching the angle with barely contained excitement. Get the story written right, build the buzz, boost Shin Min-woo's profile, and while they're at it, plug the upcoming drama he's set to star in. Shin Min-woo is finally about to blow up. But just as both men think things are falling into place, Lee Yoon-seong shows up, dragging in the very crew Ryu Won-dong sent after him. He walks them straight into Shin Min-woo's hospital room. Both men stare in disbelief. Lee Yoon-seong pulls off his helmet. I'm an old friend of Min-woo's. There are some things I'd like to discuss with him in person. Ryu Won-dong isn't buying it. This guy just put his entire crew in the hospital. But Shin Min-woo, to everyone's surprise, confirms it. We're friends. Same class in middle school. He quickly waves Lee Yoon-seong in, tells him to shut the door and acts like they're catching up. Lee Yoon-seong watches Shin Min-woo squirm and almost finds it funny. The man who was supposed to glide effortlessly to the top now has one of his own victims standing right in front of him, a victim who came back swinging. But as a public figure who lives and dies by his image, Shin Min-woo is powerless. All he can do is stand there while Lee Yoon-seong kicks open the gates of hell for him, just like Shin Min-woo once did, pushing to get as much in as he could before he aged out of juvenile protection, savoring the thrill of doing wrong without legal consequence. He was the one who opened the gates of hell for Lee Yoon-seong first. Meanwhile, Ryu Won-dong heads back to the office. The red-haired kid who appeared at the hospital won't leave his mind. Ryu Won-dong has been in this business long enough to spot trouble immediately. He just didn't realize Shin Min-woo. The kid has a lot more skeletons than he thought. This is going to be a problem. When Shin Min-woo is finally discharged, reporters are already packed outside the hospital entrance. His silence throughout the whole ordeal. Some in the media have taken it as a sign of quiet dignity. Either way, Shin Min-woo is genuinely famous now, but he can't feel anything close to happy. Lee Yoon-seong is a landmine that could go off at any second. One wrong step, and everything he's built over the years is gone. And sure enough, things unfold exactly as he feared. Lee Yoon-seong breaks into his home and tears the place apart. "Nice place," Lee Yoon-seong says with a smirk. "Someone I know had to live in a semi-basement after his house burned down. Must be nice, being an actor. Dating someone pretty and famous. That's the dream, isn't it?" Every word cuts right into Shin Min-woo. He swallows it all down through gritted teeth. When Lee Yoon-seong says he'll be back, Shin Min-woo knows exactly what that means. He's here to provoke, to expose who Shin Min-woo used to be. Shin Min-woo grabs his phone. He calls an old contact. "Baek to-ro. Bring everyone. I need a guy hunted down. No loose ends." Lee Yoon-seong has no idea. He still half expects Shin Min-woo to eventually fold and apologize, just like before. Back when Lee Yoon-seong was hospitalized after the fire, badly hurt, Shin Min-woo, dead set on launching a spotless entertainment career, despite never truly believing he had done anything wrong, actually showed up and forced out an apology, and told Lee Yoon-seong never to bring any of it up again. Lee Yoon-seong cried when he heard those words, everything he went through. Shin Min-woo was the one who set it all in motion, and in the end, he walked away without carrying a single ounce of it, and it happened in front of his mother. That was the moment she finally understood. Her son had been tormented by these people all along. She was never supposed to find out. The memory fades. Back to now. Joanna fills Lee Yoon-seong in. Shin Min-woo has hired a gang to kill him. Joanna doesn't want him going into this alone, but Lee Yoon-seong already has a plan. Lure them into a narrow alley. It sounds like putting himself at a disadvantage. But that's exactly the point. In a narrow space, they have nowhere to go. He'll have Kwon Chang-soo seal off the exit, trap them all, and take them apart one by one. His combat trainer, Ho Bin, was against this from the start, taking on a whole gang at once. Too reckless. But Lee Yoon-seong knows that going after someone as shameless as Shin Min-woo means being ready to throw everything on the line, and besides, there's nothing left for him to protect, so he's afraid of nothing, and there's nothing he won't do. Ho Bin finally relents, but insists, bring someone you trust. 2 people at minimum. That's the only way to cover the weak spots. And above all else, protect the back of the head. One unlucky hit there, and there's a real chance of ending up in a vegetative state. Lee Yoon-seong finishes off the last man on his side, snapping the leg clean. Kwon Chang-soo has already handled everyone on his end. Lee Yoon-seong sets down a thick stack of cash, payment for showing up, but Kwon Chang-soo pushes it away. Lee Yoon-seong was the one who freed him from Jo Young-beom's manipulation. That debt doesn't have a price. He's not taking the money. But Lee Yoon-seong doesn't need it either, especially not money that came at the cost of Na-hyun's life. He turns and walks away. If you don't want it, throw it out. Something about those words stops Kwon Chang-soo cold. Lee Yoon-seong feels like a person who has nothing left to lose. Back at Shin Min-woo's place, his manager is cleaning up the wreckage Lee Yoon-seong left behind. Then Shin Min-woo's phone buzzes. A message from Ryu Won-dong. He spins around, grabs his manager by the jaw. "Did you go crying to the CEO about the crew I hired? Did you? Have you forgotten what kind of person I am?" He drives his fists into the manager's face, over and over. Everything Shin Min-woo has kept locked down for years explodes out of him at once. For years, he suppressed every violent impulse to maintain his clean public image. It took everything he had. But apparently, living quietly like this makes every idiot around him think he's an easy target. Even a useless manager like this one started treating him like he doesn't matter. After all of this, Shin Min-woo is done suppressing who he really is. So when he gets to the underground parking garage and spots Kang Jun-hyuk, the man he clashed with during the filming, standing there with a group of people clearly looking for a fight, Shin Min-woo doesn't think about his image for a single second. He takes them all on with his bare hands and beats every one of them bloody. Then he calls Ryu Won-dong directly and lays everything out. "I'm done swallowing things. That's over. Either you accept me the way I am and keep me on, or I go to the press and tell them you've been sending trainees to entertain clients. Either help me clean this up, or we both go down together." He hangs up before Ryu Won-dong can respond. Then he scrolls to a name in his contacts. Sun Jong-hwan. Listen carefully. Lee Yoon-seong is working through a list, taking people out one by one. "Who do you think comes after me? Obviously you, genius. Starting now, I'm pulling everyone together. Before he gets to you, we put Lee Yoon-seong in the ground first." On the other end of the line, Sun Jong-hwan doesn't take the bait at all. He just curses Shin Min-woo out for being useless. Everything Shin Min-woo has done and none of it has come out yet. Sun Jong-hwan tells him he should count himself lucky. He sneers that Shin Min-woo has been in the spotlight too long and it's clearly rotted his brain. The only way out, Sun Jong-hwan says, is for Shin Min-woo to go to Lee Yoon-seong himself, get on his knees and beg for forgiveness. Shin Min-woo explodes with curses and slams a kick into the car door beside him. He's this close to driving over and beating Sun Jong-hwan senseless. Then it hits him. He sent men to rough up Lee Yoon-seong. He has no idea how that played out. No one picks up. Every single one of his men has been taken down by Lee Yoon-seong. The moment it sinks in that things are spiraling out of control, Shin Min-woo panics. He hangs up and frantically runs through every possible way out of this mess. He has a new drama starting soon. After that headline about him protecting his manager, the endorsement deals and variety show offers have been pouring in nonstop. So what can he possibly do now to protect everything he's worked so hard to build? He's been grinding for years, and he's finally on the verge of breaking through. He refuses to let it all collapse now. The only move left is an apology. He changes into a plain white tee and summons the best performance of his life. Then he swallows every last shred of his pride and drops to his knees in front of Lee Yoon-seong. Yoon-seong, I'm sorry, I truly am. He puts on a show of remorse, claiming he's willing to quit the industry entirely to atone. But Shin Min-woo would never give up his career. Every word is a calculated lie. Just another move to protect his spotlight. Lee Yoon-seong watches Shin Min-woo kneel before him and feels nothing but cold irony. This man, this monster, is actually on his knees in front of me. He takes a slow, steady breath. He tells Shin Min-woo to get up. Shin Min-woo thinks he's been forgiven. He rushes to grab Lee Yoon-seong's hand, words of gratitude already tumbling out. Lee Yoon-seong lets the misunderstanding hang for just a second, then cuts it dead. Who said anything about forgiving you? He drives his foot hard into this selfish, two-faced fraud standing before him. Drop the act, he snaps. I know everything. Ever since his sister died, Lee Yoon-seong's family has been in total chaos. His mother's mental state has been teetering on the edge of collapse. Their home burned down overnight, leaving them buried in debt, and then they lost their daughter on top of it all. Anyone would break under that weight. With nowhere left to turn, his mother goes straight to Shin Min-woo. She's convinced he's the one behind everything. After the incident, he was the only one who showed up to apologize, and she knows it was just to manage his image. Add to that watching her son suffer, and of course she would snap and go confront him. Anyone would. But the moment she threatens to sue, Shin Min-woo's mask comes off completely. Did I set your house on fire? Did I push her off that ledge? He tears into her with a string of abuse. What proof does she have? What grounds does she even have to sue? Then it clicks. He only got dragged into this because he went to that hospital room and apologized. So he flips the script and threatens to sue her instead. She obtained his personal information, he says. That's a serious violation of personal data protection law. Every word of it is an outrageous lie. But he's calculated that she only has an elementary school education. A few legal-sounding threats are all it takes to shut her down. The family's finances, her son's education, everything had been handled by her daughter. Now she has no one to ask, nowhere to turn. Stumbling around, completely lost, she came to Shin Min-woo clinging to her last thread of hope. Instead, she walks straight into his trap and gets threatened into submission. He drives her to a complete breakdown. She beats her own chest, sobbing that she must be crazy, that she deserves to die, anything to make him drop it. The moment he sees her break, Shin Min-woo pushes harder. He forces her to admit she was wrong. Then he takes her phone. He knows exactly what he's dealing with. Uneducated, terrified, easy to manipulate. Using the excuse of deleting a recording, he takes her phone and installs phishing software on it. Working with Jo Young-beom, he drains every one from her account. That money was the life insurance payout from his sister's death. Gone. Stolen through fraud, with no way to recover it. Lee Yoon-seong's eyes burn red. You destroyed my life. Why the hell would I forgive you? Shin Min-woo screams in pain, howling that Lee Yoon-seong has broken his arm. Even now, he actually thinks no one knows what he's done. Lee Yoon-seong launches himself up and drives his full body weight down onto that broken arm. He is going to make this man face every single thing he has done. He didn't come here to talk, he came for revenge. You don't get to wreck someone's life like it's nothing and then walk away with a few sorry words. That's not how this ends. From this moment on, Shin Min-woo's life is no longer a variety show. It's a documentary, and Lee Yoon-seong will be there to film every dark, brutal frame of it. Shin Min-woo shrieks in agony, trembling, begging, apologizing in a broken stream of words. He swears he's truly sorry. To Lee Yoon-seong, to his dead sister, to all of them. He just wants one chance at forgiveness. Lee Yoon-seong laughs, cold and silent deep inside. Sure enough, a fist gets results that the law never could. All those so-called systems of protection are useless to people who actually need them. If he hadn't taken this into his own hands, there is no universe in which these people ever bow their heads and admit what they did. People like Shin Min-woo don't apologize. Not unless they're forced to. Watching him completely break, Lee Yoon-seong lifts his foot and drops him to the floor. He never expected much from any of them. He just wanted a genuine apology, and some real action to make up for what was done to him and his sister. That would be enough. Lee Yoon-seong gives Shin Min-woo one cold final warning if he wants to keep his career. Every single year, he will go to his sister's memorial and pay his respects in person. Shin Min-woo nearly collapses with relief. He thanks him over and over, swearing he'll be a changed man. The very next day, bandaged arm and all, Shin Min-woo shows up to film a public service film against violence. When the director asks about the cast, Shin Min-woo doesn't even blink. He says he got hurt saving his manager. A badge of honor, he calls it. Playing the victim to build his image, the endorsement endorsement deals and interviews flood in. His name is everywhere. Standing in the spotlight, he tells himself this is the peak of his life. Drop a little pride, and the road ahead is nothing but smooth. He becomes a full-blown star, basking in adoration, and the humiliation he felt on his knees is already long forgotten. Ryu Won-dong looks over the contract with a smile, musing that every cloud has a silver lining. This guy has no manners, but he knows how to deliver. Inside, he's cursed Shin Min-woo 1,000 times over. He hasn't forgotten the threats. Part of him wants to expose every dirty thing Shin Min-woo has ever done, but money makes everything tolerable. He'll wait until the contract runs out, then settle the score. He asks Shin Min-woo with a pleasant smile whether he read through the contract carefully before signing. Shin Min-woo, completely off guard, says of course he did. Why, is there a problem? Ryu Won-dong just smiles. No problem at all, just reminding him that all his dramas are pre-produced so the details matter, but the net has already been cast. Shin Min-woo just hasn't felt it yet. Shin Min-woo never noticed Clause 2. If a violent scandal triggers public backlash, the penalty fee is massive. He naively believed that once Lee Yoon-seong forgave him, his troubles were over, so he signed without a second thought. Ryu Won-dong casually brings up the breach of contract fine, 3 times his total payout. Then he asks, very casually, whether that bullying incident at the hospital has been fully resolved. One leak, and everything he's built crumbles overnight. Hit where it hurts, Shin Min-woo grits his teeth and insists it's handled. The CEO has nothing to worry about. He assumes Ryu Won-dong is just applying pressure to keep him from jumping to another agency. Ryu Won-dong doesn't bother with more words. He has someone bring in the people waiting outside. Well then, if Shin Min-woo says it's handled, he's satisfied. And then, an MBS reporter walks in, right alongside Lee Yoon-seong. The reporter gets straight to the point. She's here to cover everything about the school bullying. She received a verified tip. Shin Min-woo systematically bullied his classmates throughout his school years. Watching the color drain from Shin Min-woo's face, Lee Yoon-seong knows his plan is working. He is going to personally drag Shin Min-woo down from that peak and make sure he never gets back up. Ryu Won-dong turns on him instantly. Didn't Shin Min-woo just promise everything was handled? And now this? How exactly does he plan to cover that breach of contract fine? Shin Min-woo just started making real money. There's no way he can pay. Ryu Won-dong offers a sympathetic smile. Normally the company would cover it as an advance, but with 13 canceled projects and 13 times the compensation rate, the total comes to 2.5 billion won. Even if his image is completely destroyed, there are plenty of ways to make him pay it back. Shin Min-woo's mind goes blank, but he knows he is finished. Everything he so carefully built for himself. It's all over. Not long ago, Ryu Won-dong had approached Lee Yoon-seong to confirm something. No matter what happens, was he really going to expose Shin Min-woo's bullying? And right when Shin Min-woo was about to begin filming a drama about bullying, no less, Lee Yoon-seong's answer is absolute. No matter who tries to stop him, he will finish this himself. Shin Min-woo deserves everything that's coming. Lee Yoon-seong will not let him off easy. Ryu Won-dong lets out a long sigh and stops trying to talk him out of it. There's nothing more to say. Lee Yoon-seong can't be moved. Then he shifts gears and puts a proposition on the table. Their goals align perfectly. Their interests are identical. All Lee Yoon-seong wants is to watch Shin Min-woo's total ruin, and Ryu Won-dong can deliver that without Lee Yoon-seong having to lift a finger. Lee Yoon-seong wants revenge. Ryu Won-dong just wants to squeeze every last drop of profit out of Shin Min-woo. Together, they can make sure Shin Min-woo lives through his very own hell. Now that the truth crashes down on him, Shin Min-woo completely loses it. He smashes a bottle on the spot. He screams that everything, every promise, every word about standing by each other was a lie. If anyone dares mention that breach of contract fine again, he will burn everything down. Ryu Won-dong looks at him with undisguised contempt. Acting like this in front of a reporter, with no shred of professionalism. Park Gun-tae, standing nearby, shows no mercy. He slaps Shin Min-woo hard across the face. He demands to know what Shin Min-woo thinks being a celebrity even means. At the end of the day, Shin Min-woo has always been nothing more than a product, company property, a highly valuable product, held firmly in their hands. If he doesn't fall in line, the bullying scandal gets released in full, and that massive breach of contract fine crushes him flat. Until that 2 billion is paid off, he will work without rest. Every hour, every schedule, every drop of energy going straight back to them. Shin Min-woo is a priceless commodity. They want to see exactly how much he can still produce. In Ryu Won-dong's eyes, this isn't a crisis at all. It's a golden opportunity. A businessman like Ryu Won-dong never allows even a fraction of his profit to slip away. He always plays whatever move benefits him most. People who know this industry know better than anyone how to keep an artist completely under their thumb. Shin Min-woo is at his breaking point. 3 full days without sleep, and now they're sending him off to the countryside for more schedules. The company is clearly set on wringing him dry. He finds himself staring at the moving car door and thinking about jumping. Maybe then it would stop. Maybe he could finally breathe. "We're here!" His manager's flat voice yanks him back to reality. This is a VIP-only venue. His manager warns him repeatedly, do not cause a scene. Read the room. Play nice. That's what being a celebrity means. You survive on public support. Inside the entertainment industry, brutally one-sided contracts are an open secret. Everyone knows. No one talks. Every clause tilts toward the agency. The artist's well-being doesn't factor in, and yet no one dares to refuse. Because without a contract, there is no debut, no career, nothing. In this world where money rules everything, slave contracts are simply the reality. The moment an artist steps even slightly out of line during their contract period, that misstep becomes the sharpest weapon in the agency's hands. The agency becomes a a chain around the artist's neck that can never be broken. Shin Min-woo steps inside, uneasy, taking in the absurdly lavish decor. This place cost hundreds of millions just to furnish. Who exactly is he being brought here to meet? A rumor flashes through his mind that wealthy older women sometimes set their sights on celebrities. Could that actually be true? The door swings open. Hong Yu-ra walks in, 73 years old. She wraps herself around his arm without hesitation, pressing close. Ryu Won-dong told her all about him, she says. He shouldn't be scared, she says. Just endure it, it'll be over soon. She looks him over with open, undisguised hunger. Humiliation floods through him. Inside, he's screaming. He will make every one of them pay. This ugliness, this moment, he will carry it for the rest of his life and never forget. One day, he will put his foot on the neck of everyone who has ever done this to him. The door bursts open. A man strides in, all smiles. He greets Hong Yu-ra enthusiastically and says he heard there was a new face today. That's what he's here for. This man is the real very important person. His gaze lands on Shin Min-woo without any attempt to hide what he wants. He and the two men behind him can barely wait. Ryu Won-dong told them everything. They were promised they'd be well taken care of, and so would he. This is the darkest weapon the industry has, the one that grabs an artist by their most vulnerable point and never lets go. The real hell has only just begun. Shin Min-woo clenches his jaw and holds on, and lets them do what they came here to do. The reason Ryu Won-dong went through the effort of negotiating with Lee Yoon-seong is that even a ruined celebrity still has value. Image is a tool. Lock them in a practice room, put them in front of a camera, use them to launder money. Options are endless. He can be propped up as a figurehead for stock manipulation, or just run countryside schedules until he drops. Even so, Ryu Won-dong chose to suppress the bullying story and hand Shin Min-woo over to the Butterfly Network. He's not ready to give up his cash cow. He knows better than anyone how much it costs to make a star. This crisis is just another tool, one he'll use to tighten his grip and keep squeezing. The only loose end is Lee Yoon-seong and his mouth that won't stay shut. Ryu Won-dong's eyes go cold. If that mouth can't be shut, then the simplest solution is to make sure Lee Yoon-seong never speaks again. Shin Min-woo is already trapped. Ryu Won-dong cannot afford to leave any loose ends. Shin Min-woo's mind is crumbling piece by piece. His face is a map of exhaustion. He moves through his days in a fog. He can't even track what day it is anymore. Words leave his mouth and vanish before he can remember saying them. His manager snaps at him to keep moving. The next schedule can't wait. That producer is not someone you want to keep waiting. Shin Min-woo exhales, quiet and hollow. He nods. This life. This is hell. The host shouts at full energy. Season 3 is all about pushing past human limits and holding on. The season premiere kicks off. The crowd's energy hits its peak. But Shin Min-woo, across from it all, doesn't react. The producer notices. He explodes. He accuses Shin Min-woo of deliberately tanking the show. He'd been trying to ignore it, but Shin Min-woo has been completely checked out since the moment he arrived, and it's killing the vibe. But Shin Min-woo is just too tired. He doesn't want to do anything. He doesn't want anything. He just wants it all to stop. If not for that crushing breach of contract fine, he would have walked away from everything already. Then his phone buzzes, a payment notification. It pulls him back like a rope around his neck. A smile flickers across his face. Right, he's still getting paid. His appearance fees have skyrocketed. Even after Ryu Won-dong takes his cut, what's left is still real money. At this point, he'll cling to every last one. Just hold on a little longer. Pay off the fine. Then it's over. Ryu Won-dong calls the manager directly to check in. The manager says he's right there with Shin Min-woo. And Shin Min-woo, he stopped fighting. Just as expected. Money is the leash. He accepted all of it because of money. Ryu Won-dong takes in the update with a quiet noted and tells Park Gun-tae the Shin Min-woo situation is fully under control. He folded. He's not going to cause any trouble. Now that that's handled, what's the status on eliminating the boy? Park Gun-tae is careful. Law comes down hard on contract killings. What matters most to the courts is whether there was premeditation. Premeditated murder carries a far heavier sentence than a crime of passion or an accident, and a killing for hire starts at 10 years minimum. So lately, in certain circles, a new method has been gaining traction. A way to orchestrated death without leaving a trail. Lee Yoon-seong already knows. Of course they're going to come for him. Ryu Won-dong's record includes organized violence and attempted murder. Dig carefully enough, and his history of orchestrating killings is impossible to hide. Hearing this, Joanna is terrified. She can't believe they'd actually go that far. She pleads with him, don't provoke people like this. Don't make a move. But Lee Yoon-seong is on a collision course with them regardless. Revenge on Shin Min-woo means taking on everyone behind him. So he makes her a promise. He will keep his word. He will see this through. Joanna tells him to pack his things and get out of his current place. Now, whatever happens next, he cannot gamble with his life. The people helping him aren't doing it just because of a promise. So when his life is on the line, he cannot afford to be stubborn. Lee Yoon-seong knows all of this. The people around him, their help is real. But no matter what comes, he will not break his promise. Just as he's packing up to leave, he stops at a red light and spots a vagrant across the street. The man looks dazed, clearly not in a normal state of mind. But Lee Yoon-seong came prepared. Before leaving, he slipped a 3-section staff into his pocket, just in case. Crossing the street, his eyes never leave the vagrant. Every movement tracked. He assumes this must be Ryu Won-dong's hired hand. After all, premeditated murder is too risky. A crime of passion, a killer with mental illness. Those get reduced sentences. These days, staging it as a random attack is the smarter play. Settle with the family afterward, and your odds of walking free go up dramatically. Even if you actually kill someone, 4 years maybe. Anger disorder, mental illness, all accepted grounds for a lighter sentence. But the vagrant never makes a move. Lee Yoon-seong barely has time to register the confusion. A car slams into him at full speed. The driver has a bottle in his hand. Drunk. This was Park Geun-tae's plan all along. Every detail was set up in advance. As long as drunk driving laws stay the way they are, the loopholes are endless. Tomorrow's news will carry a brief traffic accident report. Nothing more. Then the impact hits. In the exact moment the car is about to hit Lee Yoon-seong, Joanna floors it and drives straight into its path. The collision is brutal. Both cars spin out and crash to the side. Lee Yoon-seong is clipped by the rear of the car and sent flying. His head hits the pavement. Blood pools fast. The dazed vagrant laughs and mutters that someone is dead. By the time Lee Yoon-seong pulls himself back to his senses, Joanna has slumped over the steering wheel, completely unconscious. The door won't open. He loses it, shattering the window with his bare hands. He pulls her out with everything he has. Sirens scream as the ambulance tears in. The doctors check her vitals. Pulse and breathing are dropping fast. Her heart stops on the operating table. The defibrillator is rushed in. The surgery finally ends. Joanna pulled through, barely. But what comes next is far from reassuring. The impact may have left her with permanent damage she'll carry for the rest of her life. Her condition remains unstable. They'll need to monitor her closely going forward. Only then does a nurse notice the wound on Lee Yoon-seong's head and move to treat it. The pink-haired woman quietly takes a seat beside him. She asks him softly how he's doing. She always knew this day would come. She just didn't expect it to come this soon. Lee Yoon-seong nods in silence, faster than either of them expected. When the news reaches Ryu Won-dong, he erupts. He hurls an ashtray straight at Park Geun-tae, who tilts his head and lets it miss. All that confidence, and they couldn't even take out one kid. Park Geun-tae answers calmly. The driver was a throwaway from the start. There's nothing that leads back to them. Even as a drunk driving case, it'll be ruled as an accident caused by the woman who drove in. This case will close as a standard traffic accident. Nothing more. But the real problem was never the crash. It's the woman now lying in that hospital. She knows everything they've done. She saw through the plan. That's why she threw herself into its path. Not one of them can be underestimated. Kwon Chang-soo pushes through the door, demanding to know who got hurt. The pink-haired woman forces herself to say it. Joanna was in an accident. The situation is not good. The doctors say she needs round-the-clock monitoring. She's covered in injuries. Before she can finish, Kwon Chang-soo turns and walks out. The killing intent radiates off him. Everyone calls after him in a panic, afraid of what he'll do. His mind is locked on one thought. Sitting here, he can't do anything. Better to go kill every last one of them right now, than turn himself in. At least then he'd be doing something worthy of Joanna. Revenge is a bottomless pit, but some things have to be finished by hand, or the darkness never ends. Lee Yoon-seong says nothing. Everything has veered off course. The original plan was to let the agency slowly drain Shin Min-woo dry. He was willing to be patient. Let it play out over time. But Joanna changed everything. The rhythm is shattered. He sets his jaw and makes the call. End this now. All of it. Activate Plan B immediately. Every card they hold, put it all on the table. They brought this on themselves. They crossed a line no one is allowed to cross. Now they pay. Lee Yoon-seong makes a call to someone unexpected. Fight fire with fire. The dirtiest trash gets cleaned up by something even worse. He needs someone they would never see coming, and that person will be on their side very soon. Using this person, he'll bring down both Shin Min-woo and Ryu Won-dong in one move. In a way no one could have predicted. In a way no one could have imagined. Shin Min-woo collapses into the car after back-to-back schedules, his body barely holding together. His manager tells him to get some sleep. There's another schedule right after. Once this wraps, they head straight from Cheongcheong-do to an island shoot. 4 full days, but the appearance fee waiting at the end of it. That's enough to keep him going, no matter how bad it gets. Then he checks his account, and a curse rips out of him before he can stop it. He stares at the screen and refuses to believe what he's seeing. Everyone he scraped together and saved, gone overnight. At the bank, the staff checks the records and tells him plainly, there's a withdrawal on file. Wasn't it him? Shin Min-woo explodes at the staff, screaming about negligence, and in that moment, he looks exactly like Lee Yoon-seong's mother once did. Lost. Powerless. Then the staff notices something strange. Around the time of the withdrawal, there are records of an attempted transaction that was cancelled partway through. Shin Min-woo leans in to look, and another curse flies out. Ryu Won-dong. Why is his name in the records? A chill shoots straight to his skull. He understands immediately. This is Ryu Won-dong's doing. He can't hold it anymore. He storms straight to Ryu Won-dong's office. He shoves the door open and walks in on Ryu Won-dong sexually exploiting another artist. The veins in Shin Min-woo's face bulge with rage. He unleashes a torrent of curses, demanding to know if Ryu Won-dong touched his money. Ryu Won-dong just looks at him with contempt. He calls him an idiot and doesn't even bother looking up. Park Geun-tae appears from nowhere and drives a kick into Shin Min-woo that sends him flying. They thought he'd settled down lately. Clearly that was an act. And who would bother stealing his pocket change? Shin Min-woo keeps screaming, demanding to know where his money went. Park Geun-tae is done tolerating it. This kid is way out of line. He hammers his fists into Shin Min-woo again and again, reminding him of exactly what he is. Company property. A product does what it's told. It doesn't ask questions. It doesn't talk back. All it needs to do is keep the fans happy and keep making money. Everything else is none of its business. What they don't know is that Shin Min-woo's money has already found its way into Lee Yoon-seong's hands. He used the exact same fishing method Shin Min-woo once used, the same way Ryu Won-dong once stripped his mother of everything. Payback played by the same rules. The pink-haired woman had slipped quietly into Shin Min-woo's dressing room. While he slept, she installed the phishing software and deliberately planted a fake record of Ryu Won-dong attempting and canceling a withdrawal. All of it was Lee Yoon-seong's design from the very beginning. He had planned to wait 3 or 4 years, let Ryu Won-dong get fat and comfortable before striking, but they hurt Joanna, so every timeline gets moved up. Now, Kwon Chang-soo is worried. If it comes to a fight, Ryu Won-dong has criminal connections and a professional boxer on his side, and Shin Min-woo, who always came across as spineless. There's no way he can hold his own against them. Lee Yoon-seong hears that and lets out a quiet laugh. He knows something no one else does. Back in middle school, Shin Min-woo was completely unhinged. All this time, Shin Min-woo has been holding himself together by sheer force of will. The exploitation, the abuse, he swallowed all of it for the money. But now that last reason to hold on has been completely destroyed, and Shin Min-woo has been training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu since middle school, over 5 years. The proof, back in that underground parking garage, he took down Kang Jun-hyuk and his whole crew by himself, and sure enough, Shin Min-woo, all reason gone, lunges and clamps his teeth down on Park Gun-tae's ear. He bites it clean off, while Park Gun-tae reels in agony. Shin Min-woo grabs whatever is within reach and slams it into his face. The Shin Min-woo standing here now, completely feral, rattles even the ruthless Ryu Won-dong. No matter how this fight ends, Lee Yoon-seong has a backup in place. Whoever loses will be dealt with, and they will disappear from this world for good. Park Gun-tae is finished. Shin Min-woo turns toward Ryu Won-dong like something crawled out of hell. Do you want to die? Give me back my money, you shameless, rotten to the core piece of trash. You forced him to do unspeakable things, and even that wasn't enough. You had to stab him in the back too. What did he ever do to deserve this? From the shadows, Lee Yoon-seong watches with cold eyes. A part of him actually wants Shin Min-woo to win this one. He had a hidden camera planted in that office long ago. He gave Shin Min-woo the perfect stage. On the shopping mall's massive display screen, Shin Min-woo's screaming faces broadcast live, ranting that what he did was just bullying, just pushing around a few weak people. What's the big deal? Lee Yoon-seong wasn't after money. He wants something far more devastating. He is going to erase every last bit of fame Shin Min-woo has ever built with his own hands. Ryu Won-dong stumbles over his words, desperately trying to get the unraveling Shin Min-woo to calm down. Let's talk this through. There must have been some misunderstanding. Shin Min-woo is so far gone that even Ryu Won-dong, a man connected to the criminal underworld, drops to his knees and begs. How did it come to this? If only time could go back to those carefree middle school days, before the pain, before the fear. So he makes Ryu Won-dong an offer. He'll pretend none of it ever happened. Every rotten thing Ryu Won-dong did, the forced entertainment, the slave contract, the beatings, all of it, forgotten. Just let him go. Let him start over somewhere else. Then a woman bursts through the door in a panic. Something's wrong. Something is very wrong. Everything that's happening in this office is being live streamed across every platform right now. The viewer count has already blown past 30,000 and is still climbing. Someone hacked the ad screens at Gwangwon and is projecting the live feed right in the center of the city. Reporters are bombarding the company with calls. Network producers and investors are calling one after another. The company's stock price is in freefall. The situation is completely out of control. The speed at which this is spreading, this was clearly a carefully laid trap. And then, they find the hidden camera tucked inside the air purifier. Shin Min-woo clenches his jaw and freezes in place, unable to believe everything that just happened was broadcast live. Every moment of it, seen by the entire country. Lee Yoon-seong pats Choi Kyung-myung on the shoulder. Good work. Calling you in was the right call. Choi Kyung-myung trembles. From the very beginning, this whole thing was a trap. Lee Yoon-seong is out of his mind. Once he sets his sights on you, there is no way out. Choi Kyung-myung does exactly as instructed and finishes the setup. Only then does Lee Yoon-seong let him go, with one condition: be on call at all times. Those words send a cold sweat down his spine. He's been marked too. Meanwhile, Ryu Won-dong is overwhelmed. His staff are buzzing around him, urging him to call the police. Before he can decide, a curse explodes from the doorway. TV host Kim Joo-mok storms in, demanding to know if Ryu Won-dong is out of his mind. What the hell is going on? He staked his shares on a contract just yesterday, and now the company is in flames. Ryu Won-dong scrambles to calm him down, reminding him the cameras are still rolling. They pin everything on Shin Min-woo. It's his fault for running his mouth on the live broadcast and blowing everything up. Kim Joo-mok, livid, orders Shin Min-woo to get over here. Before he can finish, Shin Min-woo's fist slams into his face. Then comes the golf club, one blow after another, raining down on him. Shin Min-woo breaks. He screams. Why won't anyone just leave him alone? He has been fighting so hard to pull himself back together. All he wants is a normal life. Why won't anyone give him a way out? He keeps swinging, pouring every ounce of rage into each strike, not caring that blood is splattering everywhere. When it's over, he drops Kim Joo-mok to the floor like a piece of trash. He admits it through gritted teeth. He has lost, completely and totally. Lee Yoon-seong wins this round. Even now, Shin Min-woo still doesn't understand why any of this is happening to him. Lee Yoon-seong has ruined his life, and with bloodshot eyes, Shin Min-woo swears he will kill him. Then his phone rings. sharp and jarring. Shin Min-woo answers, and knows instantly who's on the other end. Lee Yoon-seong's voice is flat and calm. "You want to kill me, don't you? I'll send you the address, come find me." Shin Min-woo kicks the door open and charges out. The moment reporters spot him, they swarm. They shout over each other. Was everything said in the live broadcast true? Shin Min-woo, seething, kicks the nearest reporter out of his way. He snarls at them to get out of his way, no matter what it costs him. Today, Lee Yoon-seong dies. Lee Yoon-seong sits quietly in a church, waiting. Shin Min-woo arrives breathless, storming through the doors. He lashes out, "All of this? Just for some childish revenge? If that's really all this is, he will end Lee Yoon-seong right here, right now." But Lee Yoon-seong stops him with a word. He tells Shin Min-woo about the tattoos covering his body, each one a reminder of the humiliation inflicted on him. He has tattoos for Park Sang-chil and Jo Young-beom. For Jo Young-beom, he chose the Little Mermaid. Then he turns the question on Shin Min-woo. "So what image represents you?" Shin Min-woo takes it as provocation and his blood boils. How the hell is he supposed to know something like that? He doesn't bother answering. He swings. Lee Yoon-seong calmly answers for him, prayer, and reaches behind his back. The next second, the 3-section staff cracks across Shin Min-woo's face. Searing pain floods his entire body. He writhes on the ground. The moment he catches his breath, he forces himself up and charges again, but the 3-section staff keeps finding him. He can't land a single hit. Lee Yoon-seong's voice is ice cold. "Don't rush. I'm not done with you yet. I'm going to tell you everything. Every last truth. It began when Lee Yoon-seong's mother lost that money. She panicked completely. She ran herself ragged trying to track it down, asking everyone she could. For days at a time, she didn't even come home. At first, Lee Yoon-seong thought her efforts were hopeless. Then there was a breakthrough. Police asked whether she had ever lent her phone to someone. Scammers had been borrowing people's phones to secretly install phishing software. It was a rampant method at the time. She knew immediately. She went to Shin Min-woo and dropped to her knees in front of him, begging. He was the only one who had touched her phone that day. She pleaded with him to remember. But all Shin Min-woo saw was weakness. She was pathetically naive, easy to manipulate. She hadn't called the police. She hadn't even accused him. Greed surged through him. Maybe he could squeeze even more out of her. Shin Min-woo played innocent. He had only downloaded an audio file, nothing suspicious. But he offered to check for hidden viruses just to help. Without a moment's hesitation, she handed over her phone. He even promised if his download caused the problem, he would pay back every one. She was overwhelmed with gratitude. Then Shin Min-woo shifted gears. Running the diagnostic required a fee, he said, looking reluctant. He put on a helpless face and asked if she happened to have any money on her right now. Without it, there was no way to trace the virus or recover what she had lost. She grabbed his arm in a panic. "How much?" The platform only accepted game currency. 1 million won just to start. Then he added the funds had to be wired to an overseas account to process the request. He kept raising the stakes, inventing new fees, new middlemen, new reasons to send more. He strung her along with empty promises. Just one more payment and it would all be resolved. Blinded by desperation, she rushed home. She was going to hand over every last bit of savings they had. The first sum that had been stolen from her, that was the money meant for grandmother's hospital treatment. And what Shin Min-woo ultimately took wasn't just money, it was everything his sister had died to leave behind. It was the last hope this family had. Shin Min-woo walked away from it and bought himself a brand new designer bag. Lee Yoon-seong has burned every detail into his memory. This man didn't just steal their money. Afterward, he turned around and blamed it all on her. He claimed the phone was too cluttered with apps. Nothing to find, nothing he could do. A waste of his time, he said. After that day, Lee Yoon-seong never saw his mother come home again. She left only a note. No matter how hard it gets, she would find a way to get the money back. From that day on, every single day was agony. He prayed without fail. At first, he just wanted her to come home safe. Then he lowered his hopes, just a text, anything to say she was alive. And finally, he stopped asking for anything at all. Just please, let her be alive. All of that grief and hatred erupts at once. Lee Yoon-seong breaks one of Shin Min-woo's hands. Then, without missing a beat, he slams into his knee. Shin Min-woo collapses, clutching his leg with a broken hand, howling in agony. Even now, flat on the ground, he refuses to shut up. The words barely leave his mouth before Lee Yoon-seong sends him back down with one blow. Lee Yoon-seong keeps his emotions in check. He knows his limits, and he will not cross them. Every second of this confrontation is under his control. The moment Shin Min-woo hits the ground, Lee Yoon-seong wraps his sleeve tight around his throat. He keeps tightening. He does not let go. Then his instincts fire. Shin Min-woo had anticipated the chokehold and got a hand up in time. Lee Yoon-seong doesn't force it. He releases immediately and steps back. Free for a moment, Shin Min-woo explodes. Why is Lee Yoon-seong coming after him like this? As far as he's concerned, he hasn't done anything that bad. This is the price you owe, with your life. Lee Yoon-seong tells him he will spend the rest of his life paying for destroying his family and driving his sister to her death. Shin Min-woo plays dumb. He demands proof. Real solid proof. Proof that actually pins everything on him. Is this all because he once tried to help Lee Yoon-seong's mother look into the scam? And this is the thanks he gets? Lee Yoon-seong was ready for this. He reaches into his pocket. He sets an external hard drive down in front of Shin Min-woo. This was something he had worked painstakingly to obtain from Jo Young-beom. Inside is Jo Young-beom's secret financial ledger. Every illegal transaction never before exposed. And right there in that ledger, Shin Min-woo's name appears in black and white. Every detail of the scam against Lee Yoon-seong's mother. All of it documented. The evidence is right in front of him. Shin Min-woo shows not one trace of remorse. Lee Yoon-seong knew this was coming. It's exactly why Shin Min-woo became the third target. Lee Yoon-seong has gathered every piece of evidence, planned every move with precision. In this game he has spent so long building, he will not give any of them a single opening. He slams Shin Min-woo to the ground and starts throwing punches, one after another, until Shin Min-woo's face is swollen beyond recognition. Shin Min-woo shrieks at him to stop. Pushed to the edge, he seizes Lee Yoon-seong and hurls him across the room. He scrambles free. Rattled, he demands to know where Lee Yoon-seong learned to fight like this. In his mind, Lee Yoon-seong is still that worthless nobody. He snarls, "Today, he is going to make him pay. Don't forget what I've trained in." Not a flicker of fear crosses Lee Yoon-seong's face. Ho Bin had coached him well. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is brutally effective in real fights. It's built for street fights. No clean moves, no honorable exchanges. Opponents will try to drag you into tight corners where they hold the advantage. Stay out of their trap, and you can still turn the whole fight around. Shin Min-woo suddenly realizes it. That's why Lee Yoon-seong lured him to this isolated church. The space is too cramped to move freely. He tries to throw his usual leg sweep, but there's no room to generate any power. Seething with frustration, he screams insults. Then, out of the corner of his eye, a camera, sitting in the corner. Shin Min-woo erupts. "This whole fight is being broadcast live too?" he shouts at Lee Yoon-seong. "What kind of sick entertainment is this?" But the church wasn't chosen for the camera. That's not the only reason. Lee Yoon-seong had been praying here, for this revenge, until today. The moment he laid hands on his enemy, he knew he would let go of the last hope left inside him. He held on this long for one reason, to let Shin Min-woo see it with his own eyes, what it looks like when someone has truly lost everything and given themselves over to vengeance. Lee Yoon-seong's entire body radiates pure fury. Come on then, at the peak of the standoff. A cushion comes flying hard at Shin Min-woo's face. In that split second of blinded vision, Lee Yoon-seong launches a devastating flying kick, landing it perfectly. As Shin Min-woo crashes to the floor, Lee Yoon-seong moves in fast. He locks up both legs and does not let go. A piercing scream tears out of Shin Min-woo. Lee Yoon-seong speaks coldly. "You're not the only one who trained in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu." His friend Jun-hyuk, Lee Yoon-seong, took him down the exact same way. "Don't feel sorry for yourself. You should have seen this coming." Lee Yoon-seong knows revenge is an endless cycle, but he has nothing left to lose. There is nothing left on him worth holding on to. Nothing left to fear losing. Pinned and broken, Shin Min-woo convulses in pain, rasping out curses. Ruthless, vicious, heartless. Pushed past his limit, Shin Min-woo throws all caution to the wind. He openly admits it. Yes, he was the one who scammed Lee Yoon-seong's mother. And then he laughs. He mocks her, how she got down on her knees, sobbing, begging him to give it back. He brags that he spent every last penny, but the words die in his throat. Lee Yoon-seong didn't expect him to be this utterly unrepentant. He tightens his grip. A sharp, sickening crack splits the air. Even after releasing his hold, Lee Yoon-seong isn't done. He drives his fists into Shin Min-woo again and again, until there is blood. Then his eyes go cold. He raises his foot over Shin Min-woo's head, and he stomps, again and again without stopping. The violence finally draws the police. Officers rush in, shouting for it to stop. Reporters who got wind of it swarm forward, shoving past anyone trying to hold them back, desperate to get the shot. In the chaos, the officers order the immediate arrest of Lee Yoon-seong. Lee Yoon-seong stops. With a calm expression, he quietly finishes what will be his last prayer. Inside the cold interrogation room of the police station, an officer stares at Lee Yoon-seong in disbelief. A minor? With no guardian at all? Lee Yoon-seong nods without hesitation. Not the slightest trace of panic. The officer barely keeps his temper. "Stop messing around," Lee Yoon-seong replies calmly. Without a guardian's signature, the interrogation can't legally proceed. He reminds the detective, detention for a current offender is capped at 48 hours, and he has the right to refuse any interrogation conducted after 9 in the evening. No matter how furious the detective is the law is the law. He has no choice but to follow it. Another officer watching this can't help but scoff. He'll make sure to note this attitude for the judge. Then he remembers, the file says this kid once provoked a judge too. He doesn't respect anyone. The officer has seen plenty of kids like this. They all end up in a cell sooner or later. Juvenile detention is hell on earth. He says it to try to crack Lee Yoon-seong's composure. Lee Yoon-seong doesn't even look up. He scrolls through his phone. The officer, exasperated by how expertly this kid exploits his minor status, orders someone to urgently locate his guardian. He mutters in frustration. Kids like this thinking they're so clever, gaming the system. It's exactly this kind of abuse of the law that breeds one disaster after another. A memory flashes through Lee Yoon-seong's mind. Because it was a first offense, the people who hurt him walked free. Jo Young-beom, shielded by his minor status, received nothing more than 180 hours of community service, and he had the nerve to argue it was just kids roughhousing, not a real offense. Everyone does stuff like that when they're young. Lee Yoon-seong states it evenly. Everyone answers to the law equally. However much he hates it, the law is the law, and right now is not the time to be interrogating him anyway. As for Shin Min-woo, supposedly on his way to a hospital, the medical staff arrive only to learn the company has already moved him, quietly, through back channels, to a private facility arranged by someone on the inside. The truth is, Shin Min-woo has a gag stuffed in his mouth, his hands and feet bound, dumped in an abandoned building. Do you have any idea what you've done? Park Geun-tae glares down at him with pure menace. A sharp, vicious slap lands across his face, then another, and another. Park Geun-tae demands to know if Shin Min-woo understands the magnitude of what he has done. He rips the tape off Shin Min-woo's mouth and orders him to start talking. Shin Min-woo, frantic with fear, begs for mercy. He will do anything to make it right. He'll become a live streamer, a laborer, whatever it takes. Park Geun-tae listens. Then a cold smirk crosses his face. He takes a container from someone nearby. You're finished, he says. There is no coming back from this. Without a moment's hesitation, he pours the liquid over Shin Min-woo's face. The company head has given the order. Shin Min-woo will never live off his looks again. The liquid eats into his skin on contact. Wisps of smoke curl upward. A blood-curdling scream tears through the abandoned building. Every last hope Shin Min-woo had gone. Back in the interrogation room, the detective is still fuming at Lee Yoon-seong. He doesn't have time for this. And this kid clearly doesn't know how much trouble he's in. Just as the standoff reaches its peak, police finally locate an address for Lee Yoon-seong's long-missing guardian. She has been gone for years, but they track down a current address through the system. The veteran detective's instincts immediately tell him something is off. Then he mutters a curse under his breath. Someone missing for years, and she just shows up in the database like that? A hollow, bitter laugh rises in Lee Yoon-seong's chest. He spent years searching for her. Years. And couldn't find a thing. The detective sends the other officers out. He makes Lee Yoon-seong a cup of hot tea and sets it down, a quiet attempt to ease the tension. His tone softens. He asks Lee Yoon-seong to calm down. Gently, he asks, how long has it been since he last saw his mother? He says he understands. She must have had reasons she felt she had no choice. He speaks like a concerned elder, promising to do what he can to help. If Lee Yoon-seong will just let this wrap up. Trust me, he says. Let your guard down a little. Then an officer bursts in from outside. Flustered, urgent. Someone has arrived and is waiting outside. Lee Yoon-seong's eyes lock onto the door. Is it her? A stranger steps in. It's Sun Jung-hwan, the one Shin Min-woo had secretly reached out to. The detective eyes him with immediate suspicion. He's not listed as any registered guardian. Sun Jung-hwan grins and says he's an old friend of Lee Yoon-seong's. He's sorry he's late. There was an incident on the way. A woman ran out into the road and got in the way. She seemed to be in a real hurry to get somewhere. Probably rushing to the police station to see her son, don't you think? He keeps twisting the knife word by word, watching for a reaction. Curious? Whether she's alive or dead. Lee Yoon-seong's eyes go absolutely cold. His voice drops to a quiet, lethal warning. If what you just said is true, you will regret it for the rest of your life. He knew Sun Jung-hwan would show up eventually. He has been on the list for a long time. This man, stained with sins and the blood of the innocent, is target number 4. The story of Sun Jung-hwan begins before Lee Yoon-seong's life was completely destroyed. It's the memory that hurts most, losing the only true friend he ever had. In those unbearable middle school years, Lee Yoon-seong had already been singled out by school bully Shin Min-woo, the day he was publicly humiliated in the bathroom. The words exchanged between Shin Min-woo and Kang Jun-hyuk still cut deep. Shin Min-woo made him the first student in the whole year to be completely frozen out, but one offhand comment revealed the truth. They had been doing this for a long time. Their last target, the one they had already broken, was the boy with glasses. They falsely accused him of peeping at girls, laughed about it, and used it as justification to beat him. The reasons bullies give are always so absurd they make your skin crawl. They always find some outrageous excuse to make the violence seem justified, to make the isolation seem deserved, to paint themselves as blameless. So back then, Park Sang-cheol's cruelty wasn't directed only at Lee Yoon-seong. It fell on the glasses boy too. Those days were hell. Every single day they lived in fear. At first the glasses boy would break down crying. He couldn't understand. He never did anything wrong, so why was this happening? Lee Yoon-seong told him the truth. Neither of them had done anything wrong. These bullies simply needed someone to take their anger out on, so they chose innocent people as their toys. There was no reason to blame themselves. The victims were never the ones at fault. Bound by the same suffering, the two became the closest of friends, whether it was the pain of their home lives or the way their interests and values aligned so naturally. Even as everyone around them cursed them and pushed them out, they held tightly to each other. But everything good was shattered the day the transfer student arrived. Sun Jung-hwan walked into their class and immediately claimed the top of the pecking order. Without effort, he made himself the dominant bully of the entire class. Like every predictable school thug, he built his power by preying on the weak. As time passed, Sun Jung-hwan's methods grew worse and worse. He was worse than any bully who had come before. His favorite game was what he called the magnet game, played with helpless classmates as his pieces. He declared himself the North Pole. Call out South Pole, and you had to run to him and grovel. Call out North Pole, and you had to scatter and hide. To Sun Jung-hwan and his followers, it was just a stupid little game. But for the ones being played, it was a nightmare. One day, he cornered Jo In-hyun and drove him up to the rooftop. Sun Jung-hwan called out, "North Pole." Jo In-hyun, trapped with nowhere left to run, leapt off the rooftop in despair. Sun Jung-hwan looked down at Jo In-hyun's broken legs and shrugged. That height won't kill anyone. This kid's been getting harder to manage lately. Time to teach him a real lesson. Jo In-hyun was hospitalized with severe injuries. Lee Yoon-seong went to visit him, sick with worry. Jo Eun-hyun lay in the hospital bed and had already begun thinking about ending his life. He pleaded with Lee Yoon-seong to help him, but Lee Yoon-seong could barely save himself. 2 agonizing weeks crawled by. Jo Eun-hyun finally returned to school on crutches. The moment the bullies saw him walk in, they erupted, mocking him, jeering that the idiot was finally back. Sun Jong-hwan looked him over with contempt and offered a greeting. Jo Eun-hyun, who had been holding everything in for so long, finally snapped. He pulled out a knife and drove it into Sun Jong-hwan. The room erupted into screaming. Someone's been stabbed. Everyone was saying the same thing. Jo Eun-hyun stabbed Sun Jong-hwan. Yes, the glasses boy was Joanna's younger brother, Jo Eun-hyun. After that, Lee Yoon-seong filled out the school violence survey and wrote down everything Sun Jong-hwan had done to them. But the outcome was nothing like what he expected. In the end, only Jo Eun-hyun was punished, forced to transfer schools, and then sent to a juvenile detention center. Lee Yoon-seong went to the juvenile detention center to see him. He asked carefully how Jo Eun-hyun was holding up. Jo Eun-hyun smiled and said he was actually doing fine in there. The strict rules meant nobody dared mess with him. Then he turned it around and asked about Lee Yoon-seong. Was he being bullied even worse now that Jo Eun-hyun was gone? Lee Yoon-seong clenched his fists and said no, nobody was bothering him. Because of what happened with Jo Eun-hyun, they seemed scared. Things were fine. 2 boys, both lying through their teeth, each one trying with everything they had to protect the other. But the truth was, Sun Jong-hwan had been targeting Lee Yoon-seong ever since that survey. With a father who was a former minister turned judge, Sun Jong-hwan operated without limits. No matter what anyone tried, it could never touch him. Children of the powerful seemed to be born with a different set of rules, and Jo Eun-hyun, having crossed Sun Jong-hwan, was targeted and tormented by other troubled youth inside, until one day, during a routine patrol, the guards found him. He had hanged himself. The 2 of them will never get to reveal the truths they hid from each other. Not anymore. This is the Sun Jong-hwan who now stands in front of Lee Yoon-seong's warning, and laughs, openly, without a shred of restraint. He mocks Lee Yoon-seong for having the nerve to threaten him. You've got 48 hours before you can walk out of here. What exactly are you going to do to me? Sit tight and watch from in here. I'll be busy out there. He turns to the detective with a smug air and tells him not to let Lee Yoon-seong go anywhere. Public opinion is already building, and if the police release him too easily, he will make sure there are consequences. The detective is furious enough to lunge at him, but someone grabs his arm and holds him back. A younger officer leans in and whispers something. The detective goes still. Sun Jong-hwan keeps needling Lee Yoon-seong. Go ahead, cause a scene in here. Whatever you do, it'll end the same way it did back then. He deliberately brings up the day Jo Eun-hyun died, and how Lee Yoon-seong could do nothing to stop it. After Sun Jong-hwan leaves, the detective lights a cigarette and exhales in disgust. He didn't realize that man is the son of a former minister turned judge. Lee Yoon-seong doesn't respond. He just keeps saying the same thing over and over. Let me out. The detective is helpless. Lee Yoon-seong is still a minor. A guardian must be present and sign off before he can be released. Lee Yoon-seong is frantic. There is no time. Nobody knows what Sun Jong-hwan is capable of doing out there. But the detective will not bend the rules. He urges Lee Yoon-seong to be patient, to tell him the full story behind all of this. Was this all driven by school bullying? A need for revenge? But since Jo Eun-hyun's death, Lee Yoon-seong has understood. Pure revenge alone changes nothing. Things have gone too far. Revenge alone cannot settle this. With no options left, Lee Yoon-seong drives a pen into his own arm. A suspect self-harming. The police have no choice but to get him to a hospital immediately. The detective panics and orders someone to call emergency services. Outside, Sun Jong-hwan has just walked out of the station. He's already on the phone, relaxed and casual, passing along information. He reports that Lee Yoon-seong looks ready to go down fighting and take everyone with him. Sun Jong-hwan has no idea who Lee Yoon-seong's mother is. He only crossed paths with her once and has long since forgotten her face. Even as she ran right past him, he didn't recognize her at all. What he doesn't know is, that woman has already pushed open the doors of the police station. The officer on duty approaches her politely and asks what brings her here. Lee Yoon-seong's mother grabs the officer, overwhelmed with emotion. She pleads again and again. Yoon-seong is not a bad child. He's not. The officer immediately realizes she is his legal guardian. If the guardian is here and everything checks out, he can be released. But at those words, the woman's eyes fill with shame and helplessness. She doesn't deserve to be his guardian. She hasn't been able to do anything for him. If she steps in now, she might only make things worse. She is terrified of her own naivety. Terrified that someone could use her against him. All of that fear swallows the words before they can come out. She stands there fumbling, unable to say anything. Then a boy steps forward. He asks if she is Lee Yoon-seong's guardian. They are from the Campus Violence Truth Investigation Committee. They are here to fight for Lee Yoon-seong, to clear his name and expose every injustice he has suffered. From this moment on, they will stand by Lee Yoon-seong and his mother, every step of the way. Sun Jong-hwan strolls home, humming a tune without a care in the world. This Lee Yoon-seong, playing the hero of his own revenge story. Absolutely delusional. But as he thinks it through, he realizes there is no way Lee Yoon-seong pulled all of this off alone. Joanna. He needs to find out where she is. Right now. Shin Min-woo would know. He calls Shin Min-woo immediately. At this moment, Shin Min-woo's hands and feet are all broken. The left side of his face has been destroyed by acid, covered in horrific blistering. The agony is so consuming he can barely produce anything beyond a garbled, broken whimper. Inside, he is burning with hatred, cursing everyone who did this to him, the fire of revenge growing hotter by the second. On the other end of the line, Sun Jong-hwan lets out an amused laugh. He mocks him. If only he had swallowed his pride and begged Lee Yoon-seong, maybe he wouldn't be in this state. Shin Min-woo seethes. He refuses to admit he did anything wrong. He swears he will make Lee Yoon-seong pay, no matter what it costs. Sun Jong-hwan listens to all of it, then plays along. I know. That's actually why I'm calling. He'll help Shin Min-woo get his revenge. But first, he needs to know where Jo In-hyun's sister Joanna is hiding. Joanna is Lee Yoon-seong's one weak spot. Control her, and you control him. Lee Yoon-seong has been putting his faith in the media, trying to use public opinion as a weapon. Fine. Then Sun Jong-hwan will smash that fantasy to pieces. He will show Lee Yoon-seong what a real villain looks like. Meanwhile, Lee Yoon-seong has been rushed to the emergency room. The detective on the case stares him down with a stone-cold expression, warning him to stop pulling reckless stunts. One more move like that, and he will actually die. Fortunately, there is a major hospital close to where everything went down, so he gets medical attention in time. But right now, the only thing consuming Lee Yoon-seong's mind is Joanna's safety. Knowing Sun Jong-hwan as well as he does, Lee Yoon-seong is certain that Cunning Snake has already set his sights on her. Every single move, Lee Yoon-seong saw it coming. He deliberately chose the church as the location to deal with Shin Min-woo, calculating that he would be taken to the nearby Sangyun police station for questioning, and if things escalated inside the station, he would then be transferred to the adjacent Sangyun hospital for treatment. That way, he and Joanna would end up in the same building, able to watch each other's backs. Even with Kwon Chang-soo standing guard at Joanna's room without a moment's rest, Lee Yoon-seong still cannot afford to let his guard down. After all, Sun Jong-hwan will stop at nothing, and a single slip could cost everything. The makeup artist watches Kwon Chang-soo, who has not slept in days, and cannot hide his concern. Kwon Chang-soo forces himself upright and insists he is fine. He carries Lee Yoon-seong's trust like a vow, sworn to hold that room no matter what. But as they speak in hushed tones, a sharp knock at the door cuts through the quiet. Both men tense up instantly and demand to know who is there. Silence. Not a single word from outside. Then the door is yanked open from the other side. At that exact moment, Lee Yoon-seong's phone buzzes with an urgent message. It is from the makeup artist. Things have gone wrong. He assumes Sun Jong-hwan has made his move. He has to get out of the ER right now, to buy himself an exit. Lee Yoon-seong complains loudly that he is starving. He has been under interrogation all day and his body is running on empty. The officer watching him looks stunned. Food? At a time like this? But Lee Yoon-seong keeps pushing, and the detective recalls what the doctor said. The kid is still growing, and he is showing signs of malnutrition. His resolve softens. He decides to go grab something for him. He tells the younger officer to keep a close eye on Lee Yoon-seong. The detective has barely finished paying when his phone rings. Lee Yoon-seong's mother has shown up at the station. He quickly sends his location and tells them to bring her straight to the hospital. Maybe now he can actually make it home in time for his daughter's birthday. He hurries back to the ER and finds his partner knocked cold and slumped across the bed. Panic surges through him. He slaps his partner awake and demands to know where Lee Yoon-seong is. The young officer mumbles and stutters. He lost him. One moment of carelessness, and the kid vanished. Lee Yoon-seong is already gone, sprinting with everything he has, driven by one single fear, Joanna. He reaches her room, and is met by a cluster of doctors and nurses, all wearing grim expressions. Something is wrong. Lee Yoon-seong's chest tightens. He demands to know where Sun Jong-hwan is. The makeup artist wordlessly holds out his phone. Shin Min-woo, the celebrity caught in the storm of public backlash, has apparently taken his own life. He left behind a note, every line of it desperately insisting on his own innocence. Lee Yoon-seong does not buy it for a single second. This is a scheme, one Sun Jong-hwan engineered with Shin Min-woo from the start. Sun Jong-hwan had already sized up how completely trapped Shin Min-woo was. He kept prodding and goading, feeding every drop of resentment and bitterness inside the man. There was no way back for Shin Min-woo anyway. So why not use this spectacle to flip public opinion and pin everything on Lee Yoon-seong? Sun Jong-hwan plans to use Shin Min-woo's death to bury Lee Yoon-seong under an avalanche of blame. The full picture hits Lee Yoon-seong like a wave of ice down his spine. The enemy he is facing this time is not just ruthless, he is a demon without a shred of humanity. But no matter how many dangers lie ahead, Lee Yoon-seong knows he has to finish this with his own hands. He never once expected revenge to be easy. Even trapped in what feels like an endless nightmare, he will find the courage to keep going. Every battle he has fought until now, he has won by giving absolutely everything. This time will be no different. If the enemy is a demon, then he will simply kill the demon. Outside Joanna's room, urgent shouts erupt. The police have learned about Shin Min-woo's apparent suicide, but the scene is riddled with red flags, the body is covered in wounds, and the marks on the neck suggest repeated hesitation. This is not a simple suicide, it is premeditated murder, or a death forced upon someone driven to the very edge. But the one sitting in that hospital room, Lee Yoon-seong, is immediately named the prime suspect, and the file on him makes it worse. This is no ordinary suspect. He is bold and calculated. Having already attacked an officer, he deliberately lowered the police's guard, then struck at exactly the right moment and slipped away without a trace, brazen and precise all at once. The lead detective immediately orders the team, extreme caution. No one lets their guard down for a single second. Then they kick the door open and storm in, weapons drawn. Sangyun police station. They are here for Lee Yoon-seong, but the room is empty. Lee Yoon-seong is already gone. The detective refuses to let it go. He saw the surveillance footage. Lee Yoon-seong was here. He demands the truth. Cover for him, and you will go down with him. Then Kwon Chang-soo does something completely unexpected. He switches to English, playing the role of a clueless foreigner who does not understand a word. He firmly states he wants a lawyer, and threatens to contact the consulate to protect his rights. Using his foreign identity as a shield, he stalls long enough to give Lee Yoon-seong the time he needs to run. Lee Yoon-seong knows. There is no walking this back. He knew Sun Jung-hwan would make a move in the shadows. He just did not expect it to come this fast. By now, there is almost certainly a nationwide arrest warrant out for him. Once this story spreads, public opinion will be completely hijacked. On the other side of the city, Sun Jung-hwan scrolls through the news on his phone, looking deeply satisfied. Lee Yoon-seong is such a fool, still living in that outdated fantasy where the public actually cared about the underdog. Today's online crowd only hungers for drama and spectacle. They do not care about victims or justice. They follow whatever trend hits hardest. The ones who pile on with cruelty, they were just looking for an excuse to hurt someone. Lee Yoon-seong has been bullied for years, and he still has not figured out how people truly work. Pathetic. Back in middle school, a desperate and broken Lee Yoon-seong poured everything into a long post, exposing every detail of the abuse he had suffered. But even with every truth laid bare, making it go viral was nearly impossible. A post like that, crying out for justice, needs gripping writing, emotional punch, and a clear villain. Most of all, it needs traction. Without eyes on it, the truth goes nowhere. And at that exact moment, a string of celebrity scandals exploded online, swallowing every bit of public attention. Lee Yoon-seong's post never got a single ripple. It was buried completely. Too convenient. Every coincidence. Too deliberate. Someone was pulling strings behind the scenes. In Sun Jung-hwan's eyes, the public is numb and ignorant, endlessly turning on each other. The weak tear each other apart, always taking out their frustrations on whoever is smaller. Lee Yoon-seong's naivety is exactly why he spent years as a target. Sun Jung-hwan is confident the compromised police will track him down and bring him in without a hitch. The police quickly secure key evidence and follow the trail. It leads them straight to the suspect's known address. Once the location is confirmed, the arrest warrant will be formally issued in no time. With a solid chain of evidence, they decide to move first before the target has a chance to flee. Officers press the doorbell again and again. They call out for whoever is inside to open up and cooperate with a routine investigation. Just as one officer reaches for the doorbell again, the door slowly swings open from the inside. Standing there is Sun Jung-hwan. The police immediately order him to cooperate and come with them for questioning. Sun Jung-hwan plays confused, demanding to know what this is all about. The detective tells him flat out, every scheme has collapsed. They have the audio recordings of his private conversations with Shin Min-woo. In the recordings, there is a moment where Shin Min-woo suddenly snaps back to his senses. He does not want to die anymore. No matter how he looks at it, dying is not worth it. Before he can finish the sentence, Sun Jung-hwan kicks the chair out from under him. Shin Min-woo is instantly cut off, gasping, choking, unable to breathe, and Sun Jung-hwan simply watches him struggle, watches until there is nothing left. In his eyes, Shin Min-woo was just as stupid as those online commenters. Only once he is certain Shin Min-woo is dead does he turn and walk away. He leaves with one final line, "Don't worry, Lee Yoon-seong will be joining you real soon." At that very moment, Lee Yoon-seong is downstairs. He watches the police storm Sun Jung-hwan's building. Meanwhile, Kwon Chang-soo is urgently transmitting the audio recordings from the night of Shin Min-woo's murder directly to the investigators. All of it was pulled from Shin Min-woo's personal phone by Choi Young-min, extracted through an encrypted back-end transfer. When they quietly installed the hacking program, they had also embedded an audio recording plugin, originally meant to expose Shin Min-woo's hidden misconduct, but it ends up being a lifeline at the most critical moment. Sun Jung-hwan actually believed he had the whole game in his hands. He thought Lee Yoon-seong would do what he always did before, take the hits, get pushed around, and have no way to fight back. But this time, Sun Jung-hwan has completely misjudged his opponent. To take down a man who has done evil for years, Lee Yoon-seong had to become someone entirely different. Sun Jung-hwan erupts in fury, raging that Lee Yoon-seong is calculating and conniving. But he cannot deny it. Lee Yoon-seong won this round. And this arrest is only the beginning. Lee Yoon-seong's revenge is far from over. It only ends when Sun Jung-hwan is dead. And the path to his destruction has only just begun. The police close in on Sun Jung-hwan with cold authority. It is over. He is to come with them, quietly and without resistance. There is no escape. They are here on a verified, named tip from the public. Just as they move to press further, a polished, unhurried greeting cuts through the tension. A stranger has appeared out of nowhere, and the detectives immediately sense something is off. The man introduces himself without hesitation. Choi Woo-jin, Sun Jung-hwan's personal legal counsel, representing SY Law Corporation. Lee Yoon-seong knows exactly how this works. People like Sun Jung-hwan, with money and powerful backing, never go down easily. Choi Woo-jin formally declares that he is taking full control of all matters related to Sun Jung-hwan's defense, effective immediately. Sun Jung-hwan has the right to remain silent. Every response goes through the firm. Sun Jung-hwan tries to use the lawyer as cover to walk out. The detective moves to block him instantly. Choi Woo-jin scrambles to smooth things over, but the detective fires back. They have the recordings. What is there left to negotiate? Choi Woo-jin locks onto the opening immediately, demanding to know whether the police have verified the legal compliance of how that audio was obtained. Under the Communications Secrets Protection Act, audio recorded without the subject's consent cannot be used as valid evidence. The detective explains, the recording came from Shin Min-woo's own phone, a personal one-on-one conversation saved in his own archive. It is completely lawful. Choi Woo-jin keeps pressing. He demands concrete proof that only the two of them were present during that conversation. Then he pushes further. Release Sun Jong-hwan now, and once the police have gathered all compliant evidence, his client will voluntarily come in for questioning. The police watch them walk away, furious and helpless. In this country, the powerful always find a way to slip through the cracks, but the moment Sun Jong-hwan is clear, the rage takes over. He lashes out, kicking the nearest table and chairs with full force. He seethes, raging that Lee Yoon-seong used cheap, underhanded tricks to back him into a corner. Choi Woo-jin rushes to calm him down, and gets a punch to the face for it. Choi Woo-jin swallows his anger. He relays Sun Jong-hwan's father's orders: lie low in the safe house the firm has prepared. No more scenes. Not now. Sun Jong-hwan seethes with resentment. He is the one who has been wronged, and now he has to swallow his pride and hide. He swears the person who did this to him will pay. Choi Woo-jin's voice drops cold. Are you talking about killing someone? Sun Jong-hwan is the prime suspect in the Shin Min-woo murder case. It is only because of the firm that he is not already in custody. If he cannot stay quiet, they cannot guarantee his safety anymore. All next steps will be handled entirely by the firm. As for the one who set the trap, they will deal with him too. On the other side, Lee Yoon-seong sees it clearly. Sun Jong-hwan's next move will be to tear apart everyone close to him. He already knows about Joanna. He will come for everyone who has ever helped Lee Yoon-seong. Lee Yoon-seong is absolutely certain of one thing. The only way forward is to cut out the root of the poison entirely. Only then will the threat truly be gone. His mind is made up. No more hesitation. He goes straight to them. He always knew Sun Jong-hwan would hide behind lawyers to dodge accountability, so he walks straight into Sai Law Corporation to find him. Jong-hwan. What a pleasure. It hasn't even been 48 hours since we last saw each other. Choi Woo-jin stares in disbelief. Lee Yoon-seong actually walked in here. He cannot figure out what the move is, or what Lee Yoon-seong is really after. Lee Yoon-seong does not waste a single word. He swings a right hook straight into Sun Jong-hwan's face. The lawyers freeze, too stunned to move. Sun Jong-hwan hits the ground, cursing through the pain. Lee Yoon-seong moves to stomp while he is down, but Sun Jong-hwan barely rolls clear. Sun Jong-hwan snaps. He grabs a chair and swings it at Lee Yoon-seong's head with full force. Then he loses it completely, grabbing everything within reach, hurling it all at Lee Yoon-seong in a relentless barrage. Then, while Lee Yoon-seong is blocking, he throws a brutal downward kick. Lee Yoon-seong catches it cleanly. He snatches Sun Jong-hwan's sleeve in one sharp movement, hooks his leg to kill the momentum, and slams him to the floor. Then he wrenches the arm with everything he has. A raw, piercing scream tears out of Sun Jong-hwan. The lawyers in the room panic. They rush forward to pull them apart, but Lee Yoon-seong, completely calm, tells them to call the police. One sentence. The lawyers go still. He has been waiting for this moment for a long time. He has been looking forward to walking into that police station alongside Sun Jong-hwan for a very long time. After all, both of them are suspects in the Shin Min-woo murder case. Being brought in together will accelerate the investigation and detonate a media firestorm that will spread across every platform instantly, whether it is news outlets or short video platforms. This story will blow up. So he pushes them. Call the police, right now. And in that moment, Choi Woo-jin realizes they absolutely cannot call the police. If the police conduct a full investigation, the entire network of powerful interests behind them will be exposed, and the cost will be catastrophic. Sun Jong-hwan's father had made it absolutely clear. The election is coming, and there cannot be a single scandal, especially for a man with his background in the justice system. Every move is under a microscope. He had repeated it over and over. Handle this quietly and do not let it escalate. The realization hits Choi Woo-jin like a wall. He walked right into it. This was all planned from the beginning. Lee Yoon-seong can see that Choi Woo-jin has done the math. He delivers the final warning, his voice ice cold. If no one wants to watch Sun Jong-hwan end up permanently crippled, get out. Choi Woo-jin explodes at him. Lee Yoon-seong, let go of him. Everything you are doing right now will be used as evidence against you. Lee Yoon-seong stares back, cold and unmoved. Then he applies more force and snaps Sun Jong-hwan's arm. Anyone who refuses to leave, Sun Jong-hwan dies today. Commotion erupts outside. People sense something is wrong and rush toward the room. Choi Woo-jin, terrified of pushing Lee Yoon-seong further, hurries to wave them off. Nothing is happening here. Go back. He keeps everyone outside. Inside, he is seething. He knows exactly what the situation is. Lee Yoon-seong has every single one of their weak points locked in his grip. He is toying with them, deliberately. Or maybe he wants something. Choi Woo-jin thinks it through. Ultimately, it must be about money. Lee Yoon-seong cuts him off. It's nothing like whatever filthy little scheme you're imagining. Whatever Choi Woo-jin is calculating right now, none of it matters. It will all be over soon. Then the door slams open from outside. Detectives pour in with weapons raised. They zero in on Lee Yoon-seong instantly, ordering him to let go and stand up. Choi Woo-jin demands furiously to know who called them. The detective fires a warning shot. The standoff shatters. He says coldly, "That was a blank. The next one won't be." He tells Lee Yoon-seong he understands the pain, but if he keeps going down this path, he will only make things far worse for himself. Lee Yoon-seong locks eyes with Sun Jong-hwan and speaks, "Hear me. I will kill you. This revenge ends only one way, with Sun Jong-hwan's life. Then Lee Yoon-seong calmly raises his hands and walks out, step by step, following the detective's direction. The officers move in and place him under arrest on the spot. Lee Yoon-seong feels nothing but calm. He has done enough. The first objective is complete. Every single thing he just did is a declaration of war, written by his own hand and delivered directly to Sun Jong-hwan. The story of Shin Min-woo's supposed suicide floods every news channel. Lee Yoon-seong's name is everywhere, and the world is in chaos. The detective remarks, almost in disbelief, that he is quite famous now. Does he even understand how bad things have gotten? Everyone believes Shin Min-woo was murdered by Lee Yoon-seong. His past as a bullying victim has been dragged into the open, and his identity, background, and every private detail have been doxed by netizens. But the police also received an anonymous tip with key evidence proving that Sun Jong-hwan is the real killer. The police have already pieced together that all of this is Lee Yoon-seong's doing. What he cannot figure out is why Lee Yoon-seong did not just release the evidence to the public directly. Lee Yoon-seong has his reasons. It is not yet time to put Sun Jong-hwan before the court of public opinion. He will not let that man get a taste of total public ruin too soon. The group arrives at their destination. The detective sends the others upstairs to wait. He takes Lee Yoon-seong aside. Sun Jong-hwan's powerful family connections, his influence quietly pressuring people in high places. In the end, public opinion might not side with Lee Yoon-seong at all. The detective says this hoping to get through to him. Lee Yoon-seong does not waver, not even slightly. No matter how hard it gets, he will see this through to the end. The detective lets out a helpless sigh. This kid is too stubborn for his own good, too foolishly determined. Then quietly he unlocks the handcuffs. He catches Lee Yoon-seong's expression and says awkwardly, "Don't read into it. His birth mother has come. You cannot meet your mother in handcuffs." Lee Yoon-seong goes still. He cannot believe what he just heard. His mother, the one he has thought about for so long, she actually came back. She is right behind that door. Lee Yoon-seong forces down the wave of panic and longing rising inside him. His hand is trembling as he slowly pushes the door open. But the moment it swings open, the man sitting inside is a stranger, and the hope collapses. Lim Jong-gun speaks first, offering a greeting. Lee Yoon-seong's expression turns flat. What is this? He turns on the detective. You said his mother was here. Then a warm presence wraps around him from behind, holding him tight. A voice he knows, soft and broken, reaches his ears. His mother, voice cracking, tells him she is sorry she came so late, that he has suffered so much, and it is her fault. In every person's life, there is a bond so precious no one can ever take it away. For Lee Yoon-seong, that bond is family. And because he lost it so easily, he treasures it more than anything. His mother keeps apologizing over and over, barely above a whisper. And in that moment, every wound he has ever buried breaks open all at once. Tears stream down his face. His chest aches. He has never stopped thinking about her, but he forces it all back down. He refuses to let emotion take the wheel right now. The revenge is not finished. He cannot have his reunion yet. So he asks her one question. Are you doing well? Is your health okay? When he hears she is all right, something in him finally loosens, just a little. Then he turns to the detective, composed. He will meet with her later. As long as she is okay, that is enough for now. He cannot show weakness. Not at this moment. Not when everything is on the line. Then Lim Jong-gun speaks up. He wants a moment alone with Lee Yoon-seong. The detective looks puzzled. He had no idea these two already knew each other. 3 years ago, Lee Yoon-seong had sought out the Campus Violence Truth Investigation Committee. Lim Jong-gun had sat down with him and carefully documented every detail of the bullying. He asked whether Sun Jong-hwan and his crew had systematically targeted him and those around him. Lee Yoon-seong nodded, holding back everything that was breaking apart inside him. He had tried every avenue available to him, and none of it led anywhere. Lim Jong-gun listened, and his heart ached. He promised the boy he would take care of it, but his superior, the minister, shut it down on the spot. This case was not to be touched. Lim Jong-gun pushed back, furious. This was a serious case of campus abuse, and doing nothing was not an option. The minister refused to budge. He was to move on to other matters. There was plenty on their plate, and no reason to obsess over one old case. No matter how hard Lim Jong-gun fought, the minister would not listen. Years later, Lim Jong-gun still carries the guilt. He wishes he could have done more back then. Even so, he will not help Lee Yoon-seong take revenge. When Lee Yoon-seong came to him asking for help with his revenge plan, Lim Jong-gun refused without hesitation. He believes in the rule of law, and he said it plainly. In a civilized society, personal vendettas have no place. He will fight for justice through every legal channel available. Lee Yoon-seong almost laughs at how hollow that sounds now. It is too late for that. Sun Jong-hwan has come fully prepared and is committed to seeing one of them destroyed. On the other side, Choi Woo-jin is working out their next move. He raises his voice to stop Sun Jong-hwan, who is already heading for the door. Sun Jong-hwan has had enough. Lee Yoon-seong has openly declared he will kill him. The only way Lee Yoon-seong will stop is when Sun Jong-hwan is dead. The situation has spiraled out of control. The only way to end it is to take Lee Yoon-seong out first. So he rushes to the hospital, heading straight for Joanna's room. He runs straight into Gwon Chang-soo just outside the door. Sun Jong-hwan is aggressive and arrogant, insisting he will push his way in to find Joanna. Gwon Chang-soo stares at him. He actually showed up. He sighs. He snaps back, telling Sun Jong-hwan to get out. Who even let you? Before he can finish, Park Geun-tae appears from behind him and drives a brutal hook into the back of Kwon Chang-soo's head, dropping him before he even sees it coming. Park Geun-tae curses at him for being too mouthy, then asks if he is one of Lee Yoon-seong's people. Sun Jong-hwan had already reached out to Park Geun-tae in secret, proposing an alliance to take Lee Yoon-seong down. If it were not for Lee Yoon-seong, Shin Min-woo would not have died, and Park Geun-tae would not be in the mess he is in now. Lee Yoon-seong will absolutely use the situation to pin the blame on him. But before helping him, Sun Jong-hwan needs one favor first. The only way for both of them to survive this. Kwon Chang-soo looks up at Park Geun-tae clearly now, and his expression fills with contempt. He brings it up right to his face. The time Shin Min-woo beat Park Geun-tae in front of everyone. He tells him plainly, "You are a worthless loser everyone looks down on. This level of skill is not even worth mentioning." Park Geun-tae snaps and hits him so hard Kwon Chang-soo flies back. Then he follows up with a fluid chain of strikes, not giving Kwon Chang-soo a single opening to fight back. He screams that he is sick of everyone treating him like he is nothing. He is a top-level professional UFC fighter. He got caught off guard once, just once, and suddenly the whole world brands him a failure. Today he will kill every single person who ever looked down on him. Kwon Chang-soo stays eerily calm. He saw this coming. He is specifically trained for opponents like this. And now he is going to make Park Geun-tae see exactly how things really stand. Let him find out firsthand what it looks like when a fighter gets handled with ease. Park Geun-tae sneers and steps up. He wants to see it. Sun Jong-hwan watches the two of them brawl with cold, detached eyes. He lets them tear into each other. None of this concerns him. He has one target. He turns and pushes the room door open. He expects to find Joanna inside, and freezes the moment the door swings open. The room is empty. Joanna is gone. Then, just as the frustration is overtaking him, her voice cuts through. "I knew you'd come. This revenge against Sun Jong-hwan is different from everything Lee Yoon-seong has done alone before, because this time, the one leading the charge is Joanna." She asks him softly, does he remember her? Ever since Jo and-yeon died, she has never once forgotten Sun Jong-hwan's face. Growing up, Joanna and her younger brother Jo and-yeon were never close. Back then, she genuinely did not like him, this brother who could not seem to get anything right. He struggled in school, had no aptitude for sports, and even the most basic social situations seemed to overwhelm him completely. Joanna looked down on him for it. She could not understand how someone could be like that. Then she left, went overseas to study, and put that family completely behind her. While she was abroad, word reached her that her brother had gotten into trouble and been sent to a juvenile detention center. Her first thought was frustration. Why does he always cause problems? Is this what his whole life is going to look like? She had nothing left for him but disappointment. But what she never could have imagined was that Jo and-yeon would take his own life. The grief hit her like a collapse, and for the first time she felt real regret. She should have paid more attention. She should have cared more. Going through his belongings, she found a letter Jo and-yeon had left behind. Every line of it was filled with a desperate desire to keep living. He wanted so badly to overcome everything, and yet he was gone. For a brother who had tried so hard without her knowing, the guilt of her neglect was overwhelming. Then Lee Yoon-seong came to find her, still deep in grief, and introduced himself. He was Jo and-yeon's closest friend. Afraid he was already too late, he told her the truth without hesitation, the truth that had been buried. Jo and-yeon did not take his own life. He was murdered. A cold, carefully planned killing. And the man behind it was Sun Jong-hwan. What happened in that classroom had lodged in Sun Jong-hwan's mind like a splinter. He reached inside the juvenile detention center and paid delinquent thugs to handle it. Killed Jo and-yeon, then staged the whole thing to look like a suicide. All they had to do was make him disappear quietly. The cleanup and cover-up, Sun Jong-hwan would handle all of it himself. Jo and-yeon had humiliated him in front of others. Sun Jong-hwan could not let that stand. In his eyes, Jo and-yeon was a dog that bit its owner, and dogs like that deserved to be put down. And so one of those thugs smothered Jo and-yeon to death. Then the evidence was destroyed, and the murder was dressed up as a suicide. Sun Jong-hwan is stunned. How does Joanna know all this, and why isn't she unconscious? Joanna calmly pulls out a knife. She had been faking unconsciousness the entire time. Lee Yoon-seong was certain. The moment word got out that Joanna was unconscious, Sun Jong-hwan would come running. Joanna's injuries had been serious at first, but her strong physical condition allowed her to regain consciousness sooner than anyone expected. Sun Jong-hwan breaks into a cold sweat and demands to know what she plans to do with that knife. Is she actually going to stab him? In the next instant, Joanna flings the knife right at Sun Jong-hwan's feet. She tells him to pick it up and stab himself with it. This is the last chance she is giving him. The choice is his. Sun Jong-hwan picks up the knife, convinced Joanna is a completely deranged lunatic. He figures she must have set up a hidden camera somewhere, trying to capture footage to expose him. In his mind, that plan is almost laughably naive. Joanna doesn't bother arguing. She offered him a chance out of goodwill, and he chose to waste it. She has already made up her mind. Sun Jong-hwan will meet the same end as her brother. It will look just like a suicide. Just like Jo and-yeon's. Sun Jong-hwan snaps. He charges at Joanna like a man possessed, knife in hand. He openly admits it. Yes, he had Jo and-yeon killed, but even confessing everything, he insists there is nothing she can do to him. Then something strange happens. The knife cannot pierce her, not even close. Sun Jong-hwan freezes, baffled. What is going on? Only now does Joanna reveal the truth. It was a fake knife, one she had carefully prepared in advance. With the physical gap between them, going head-to-head directly was never her plan. Sun Jong-hwan is furious all over again. He cannot believe she played him from start to finish. Joanna shifts the subject and brings up their former schoolmate Park Sang-chul. Back then, Lee Yoon-seong had stormed into the juvenile detention center alone to avenge his friend. He had taken taken Park Sang-cheol down with a single finger. As she speaks, Joanna slowly lifts her shirt. She produces a can of pepper spray she had hidden underneath. Now she is going to close the gap with one finger of her own. The moment the words leave her mouth, she acts, blasting the spray directly into Sun Jung-hwan's eyes. Then she drives a brutal kick straight into his groin. The pain is overwhelming. Sun Jung-hwan lets out an agonized, gut-wrenching scream. For the first time in his life, Sun Jung-hwan knows what it feels like to be in true agony. He had always coasted on his father's influence, completely shielded from the harshness of the real world. From this day forward, he will taste every kind of suffering this world has to offer. Those words hit him like a slap, leaving him dazed and uncomprehending. Meanwhile, Choi Woo-jin is at his desk with colleagues, sorting through case files. They are desperately trying to find a cover story to bury Sun Jung-hwan's crimes. Then Choi Woo-jin's phone rings. It is Sun Jung-hwan's father. Sun Min-jin gives the order to stand down, halt everything immediately, stop all operations and wait for further instructions. The line goes dead. Choi Woo-jin has followed orders. But he cannot understand. What could Sun Min-jin possibly gain by throwing his own son to the wolves? He warns Lee Yoon-seong if this deal falls through. The price Lee Yoon-seong pays will be far worse than anything he can imagine. So what exactly is this deal? Lee Yoon-seong speaks with calm precision. He knows exactly who Sun Min-jin is, a former minister-turned-judge, once a front-runner for party leadership. Asking a man like that to personally discard his own son, a son guilty of murder, is no small thing. Before Sun Min-jin can push back, Lee Yoon-seong lays out an offer he simply cannot refuse. There's only one condition. Give Sun Jung-hwan the ending he deserves, and make it a clean one. Right in front of Sun Min-jin, Lee Yoon-seong lays out the truth without flinching. His son is a killer. The entertainer Shin Min-woo, who recently died under brutal circumstances, that was Sun Jung-hwan's doing too. And 4 years ago, a middle school student named Jo In-hyun, Sun Jung-hwan had orchestrated that murder as well. Lee Yoon-seong has everything. Audio recordings, case files, and eyewitnesses all ready to go. The accomplices from the original murder, now out of juvenile detention, will testify in court on schedule. Sun Min-jin seethes. He demands to know why Lee Yoon-seong is so fixated on destroying his son. Lee Yoon-seong answers coldly. If Sun Min-jin doesn't give up Sun Jung-hwan, this whole mission means nothing. To overturn a rotten system and build a world where people are afraid to do evil, that requires someone like Sun Min-jin, a man at the very top, to step up and cooperate, publicly confess every crime, and issue a full apology. That is the only way Sun Min-jin saves himself. A nearby aide rushes forward and whispers urgently for Sun Min-jin to reconsider, but Lee Yoon-seong gives him no room to hesitate. His tone is iron. Decide. Now. Call a press conference within 1 hour and reveal everything to the public, because a politician like him will always put his own future before his own son. On the other side of things, Kwon Chang-soo is getting completely dominated by the highly trained Park Gun-tae. In that desperate moment, he recalls what Lee Yoon-seong once told him, a life-saving rule for real fights. Against someone with years of elite training, conventional fighting will get you killed. To turn the tables from a losing position, you have to go for the blind spots, the places no amount of training can fully protect. Kwon Chang-soo grits his teeth and forces himself back to his feet. He grabs a fire extinguisher and swings it hard at Park Gun-tae. While Park Gun-tae is off balance, Kwon Chang-soo jabs his fingers straight into his eyes to break his rhythm. Then he snaps Park Gun-tae's fingers without hesitation. Even the strongest have weak points. No training covers everything. Fueled by loyalty and sheer determination, he pushes himself to his absolute limit. With one final driving elbow strike, he sends Park Gun-tae crashing to the ground. A man fighting to protect the people he cares about does not go down easily. Inside the room, Sun Jung-hwan has no idea what Joanna's words really mean. Joanna forcibly swallows the murderous rage burning in her eyes. She lets him go, for now, because what comes next will be far more devastating. Backup finally arrives, pulling Sun Jung-hwan away and calling the police. Sun Jung-hwan panics, still not understanding what a perfect ending for him actually means. Then his phone buzzes. An urgent message from Choi Woo-jin, run, now. At the same moment, the press conference has begun. Sun Min-jin stands before the cameras, his face etched with grief, and exposes his own son. Sun Jung-hwan had bullied classmates for years, repeatedly manipulated others into committing murder, and was responsible for the death of Shin Min-woo. At just the right moment, tears fall. He says he is ashamed of how blindly he trusted his son. He takes the blame onto himself, confessing that he failed to raise his son properly. He pledges full cooperation with law enforcement, personally requests an arrest warrant, and vows not to shield his own child. He makes it crystal clear, Sun Jung-hwan will face the full force of the law. Reporters press him relentlessly. Did he truly know nothing before now? Sun Min-jin holds himself together and says he only found out when police recently summoned him for questioning. When asked how he feels as the parent of an only child who turned out to be a murderer, he looks back with nothing but regret and says this is a burden he deserves to carry. He swears he will carry this for the rest of his life and spend every remaining day seeking forgiveness from the victims' families. His sincerity, at least on the surface, is undeniable. The news spreads like wildfire within minutes. Politician Sun Min-jin personally issues an arrest warrant for his own son. Joanna had anticipated this from Sun Min-jin all along. He is, above all else, a calculating man. It is over. Sun Jonghwan has lost completely. Sun Jonghwan falls apart and flees in a panic. Raging and in total denial, he cannot accept that this is how it ends. Meanwhile, the police have already surrounded the hospital from every angle. From an upper floor, he watches the officers below. Every exit on the ground floor is sealed. With nowhere left to run, he bolts. Blind with panic, he sprints until there is nowhere left to go. The rooftop. Deep down, he knows the end has come, but he still cannot grasp exactly what that end will look like. Joanna follows him up to the rooftop unhurried. Her voice is ice cold. Give it up. There is no escaping this. Do you remember what you did to Eun-hyun? Right here on a rooftop like this, the unspeakable things you did to an innocent boy. Sun Jonghwan erupts in furious cursing. Too much of a coward to face what she is saying. Joanna ignores him. Then, without warning, she says calmly, North Pole. Sun Jonghwan still believes even now that his father will come through and bail him out. Growing up, he had everything anyone could want. His family background was the envy of everyone around him. His father was a former minister turned judge, always surrounded by people eager to flatter and serve. But compared to his cold, cutting father, Sun Jonghwan had always preferred the warmth of other older men around him. They always praised him, called him clever and charming. They slipped him pocket money with a smile, but his own father looked at him with nothing but contempt, always snapping at him, always sending him away. Years of this treatment left Sun Jonghwan with a deep, burning hatred for his selfish, cold-blooded father. He knew exactly what he was, an unwanted child born from an unplanned pregnancy between his father and an entertainer. His father never let him forget it, grumbling constantly that if he had not been forced into marriage, he would have made a far more advantageous match. Every one of those bitter words planted more hatred in Sun Jonghwan's heart, and yet sometimes in the quiet, he felt a twisted kind of relief, because riding on his father's power meant he had privileges most people could never touch, even when he got caught smoking, even when he caused trouble. His family name made it all disappear. He had long since seen through the illusion of family love. His parents never truly cared about how he felt. No matter what he did, no one paid any real attention. Every hurt, every humiliation, he swallowed it all in silence. But even if no one cared about him, he still had power. And the beauty of power was that no matter how far he crossed the line, it always kept him safe. While he is lost in this cycle of self-delusion, a fist comes out of nowhere and sends him flying. Guan Chang-su looks at him with pure contempt. He doesn't even know basic facts, does he? A magnet points north. When a bar magnet is suspended freely and one end points north, that end is the North Pole. And so the magnet game resumes. Guan Chang-su says it coldly, North Pole. Sun Jonghwan opens his mouth to argue, and Guan Chang-su's fist crashes into his face again. Sun Jonghwan hits the ground hard and tumbles across the rooftop. The old railing along the rooftop edge shudders from the impact, dangerously close to giving way. Joanna's eyes are stone cold. North Pole, she repeats. Sun Jonghwan refuses to submit. Each refusal earns him another brutal beating. Humiliated and seething, he refuses to accept any of it. In his mind, everything that has happened to him is Lee Yoon-seong and Jo In-yeon's fault. At this point, Lee Yoon-seong has already secured the outcome. No detention, no formal investigation against himself. The detective on the case states plainly that no pressure was applied from above. Every call made was based on his own conscience and nothing else. Lee Yoon-seong thanks him sincerely, then pauses. He brings up something the detective has never heard before. Lee Yoon-seong has several tattoos, each one with a specific meaning. One of them is a hellhound, the guardian of the underworld, a creature born savage and fearsome, whose sole purpose is to drag those who have done evil down into the depths. A fitting symbol for someone like Sun Jonghwan. But strip away the terrifying mythology, and even the fearsome three-headed hound is, at the end of the day, just a dog. Up on the rooftop, Sun Jonghwan is still raging with arrogance. He demands furiously, what does any of this accomplish? What does coming after him like this actually change? All of this is for Jo In-hyun, right? That guy is dead. Why won't anyone let it go? Will doing all this bring him back to life? Those shameless, unrepentant words ignite Guan Chang-su's rage instantly. Seeing him about to charge, Joanna steps forward and holds him back. She knows Sun Jonghwan is playing dumb, but justice for Jo In-hyun will be served, no matter what. Every debt of sin will be repaid, one by one. Then she delivers her final words. She tells Sun Jonghwan to jump, right now, from the edge of this rooftop. When he hits the ground, he had better give Jo In-hyun a genuine, heartfelt apology. Sun Jonghwan stares down at the drop, over 10 stories of open air below him. He swallows hard, his throat dry with fear. He knows this group has planned everything in advance, down to the last detail. Right now, cornered, he has no choice but to stall. He prays the police will make it up here in time. People have fallen from the 5th floor before and survived. Surely he would be fine too. With that thought, he starts to stall, playing for time. He leans back against the railing and spits out a defiant warning. They will all regret this someday. The railing groans beneath him. He swears that once he gets out of this, every single one of them will pay. No matter what it costs, he will survive. At that critical moment, the police finally reach the rooftop. They shout a warning. Sun Jonghwan, do not move. Hands up. They are here to arrest him on charges of incitement to murder. Sun Jonghwan bursts out laughing. He mocks the police for taking so long to arrive. Unbelievably slow. He relaxes, leaning back against the railing with a smirk, and the old, weakened railing finally gives way entirely. Sun Jonghwan's center of gravity lurches backward. He plunges straight down into the open air below. Even as he falls, he is screaming. He will never forgive any of them. Then, in the blur of falling, a hallucination takes hold. He sees Jo In-hyun, standing quietly at the bottom, waiting for him. And at the center of the ground beneath Jo and Hyun's feet, a sharp, jagged stone stands upright. The doctor approaches Sun Min-jin with a grave expression. His son's condition was critical. He nearly died on the operating table, but they managed to save him, at the cost of permanent blindness in one eye. The doctor hands him the prepared medical report. Unfortunately, Sun Jong-hwan survives. He loses sight in one eye permanently, and nothing more. The school bullying scandal that once shook the entire city has finally swung public sympathy firmly toward Lee Yoon-seong. With key testimony now made public, the charges against Sun Jong-hwan for ordering past attacks are officially confirmed. Add to that the hard evidence in the Shin Min-to-woo murder case, and Sun Jong-hwan is formally sent to juvenile prison. There, for the first time in his life, a true and unrelenting dread settles in his chest. He had spent his whole life hiding behind his family name. He had never once known what it felt like to be on the receiving end. He naively assumed juvenile prison would be as easygoing as his previous time in juvenile detention. He could not have been more wrong. The real suffering has only just begun. At the same time, the public is calling loudly for legal reform, demanding the urgent passage of the Sun Jong-hwan Act. Lowering the age of criminal responsibility for minors is at the heart of the debate. The old laws are riddled with loopholes and have failed completely to deter violent juvenile offenders. The entire country is in an uproar over Sun Jong-hwan. Prison psychologist Oh In-young sits across from Sun Jong-hwan, curious to understand what is really going on inside his head. Sun Jong-hwan is irritated and completely closed off. He just wants this conversation over with so he can get to his cell. He even tries to leverage his father's position as a politician, falling back on his old arrogance. It earns him the worst possible psychological evaluation score. As a guard leads him deeper into the facility, an uneasy creeping dread begins to build inside Sun Jong-hwan. Did he say something wrong? Are they deliberately making things harder for him? The guard says nothing the entire way, leading him straight to a cell deep inside the block, one that had clearly been chosen for him in advance. A brief warning, keep your head down and behave, then the guard is gone. The scarred man in the cell looks up as Sun Jong-hwan enters, and a cold calculating smile flickers across his face. The other inmates start asking who the newcomer is. Scarface announces it dismissively. That is the politician's son. Hearing that people know who he is, a small spark of relief flickers in Sun Jong-hwan. Maybe his father's name will carry some weight here and make things easier. Then a fist slams into his chest, shattering that illusion instantly. The inmates swarm him, beating him and screaming at him for daring to act like a privileged rich kid in here. This is just the beginning. Juvenile detention and juvenile prison are nothing alike. Juvenile prison runs on one law only: violence and raw strength. This place is filled with the most dangerous juvenile offenders around, every one of them with a record, and nothing infuriates them more than an arrogant, well-connected kid who thinks he is untouchable. These inmates have no one backing them up and nothing left to lose, which makes them completely fearless. In the middle of the chaos, Han Ji-hoon suddenly calls it off. He recognizes the new inmate as someone from Sangwon Middle School. Sun Jong-hwan, Class 6, Year 1. The familiar school name and class number catch Sun Jong-hwan off guard. He squints. Who is this? The young man introduces himself. Han Ji-hoon. He was friends with Shin Min-woo and Park Sang-chul. The name clicks. Sun Jong-hwan remembers him now, but he cannot figure out why Han Ji-hoon is in a wheelchair. Han Ji-hoon's voice fills with bitter hatred. Lee Yoon-seong did this. He destroyed everything. He knows Sun Jong-hwan is here because of Lee Yoon-seong too. That makes them enemies of the same man. He wants to bring Sun Jong-hwan in, plan together from inside, and take Lee Yoon-seong down once they are both out. They will scheme quietly behind bars and strike the moment they are free. Sun Jong-hwan cannot believe his luck, running into an old classmate in a place like this. Without a second thought, he agrees. But everything changes when night falls. Sun Jong-hwan is deep asleep when a strange sound jolts him awake. Han Ji-hoon is right there, standing over him, staring. Before Sun Jong-hwan can react, a hand clamps over his mouth. Not a sound escapes. Other inmates pin his arms down. He cannot move. Accomplices quietly block the security camera, hiding everything that is about to happen. If Sun Jong-hwan had known anything about Han Ji-hoon, he would have known about his particular appetites. But it is far too late now. He has been targeted. Han Ji-hoon presses down on Sun Jong-hwan, murmuring words about revenge to keep him distracted. He forces Sun Jong-hwan to comply in the most degrading way possible. I'm burning up, Jong-hwan. There is only one thing you can do for me now. Deep down, he is grateful to Lee Yoon-seong for delivering such a perfect toy right to his door. He will keep his end of the deal. He will take care of Sun Jong-hwan thoroughly. 3 months later, Sun Jong-hwan is gaunt, wasted, barely able to walk. The other inmates treat it like old news, mocking him openly whenever they feel like it. At first, some worried that Sun Jong-hwan might seek revenge once he got out, but they do not care. They have nothing left to lose, and besides, his own father already threw him away. Sun Jong-hwan sinks into complete despair. In the end, he takes his own life by hanging. Han Ji-hoon looks at Sun Jong-hwan's lifeless body and sneers. What a waste. With that little tolerance, he actually thought he could take down Lee Yoon-seong? Lee Yoon-seong had planned everything long in advance. There was never any chance of winning against him. But Lee Yoon-seong's true plan for revenge, it only truly begins now. Lee Ju-yeon sees the news about Sun Jong-hwan's death. She cannot help but remark, what a miserable end. One of her boyfriends voices his concern, Could she get dragged into this because of her past connection? Lee Ju-yeon admits she is a little worried, but more than that, she is excited. Her mind drifts back to high school. She remembers the flustered, helpless look on Lee Yoon-seong's face when she had pushed things between them. Suddenly, she finds herself hoping he will come for her. If he comes looking for me, then maybe we can finally finish what we started back then. Joanna speaks to Jo and Hyun with a heavy, aching heart. She tells him, the enemy has been dealt with. Sun Jung-hwan is gone. She hopes he can finally rest in peace on the other side. But deep down, Joanna knows the real revenge for Jo and Hyun is far from over. This rotten world needs to be torn down and rebuilt from the ground up. Society has let too much darkness accumulate for too long. A complete overhaul is long overdue. Until that day comes, Joanna will not stop. The three of them gather again to discuss their next target. Her name is Lee Ju-yeon. She is 18 years old. She attends Songjong High School. At school, everyone calls her the scheming Queen Bee. Lee Ju-yeon is flashy and loud, always surrounded by a swarm of admirers, but the Queen Bee title hides far more ugliness than it suggests. She does not have just one boyfriend, and every one of these men silently accepts the existence of the others. In Lee Ju-yeon's twisted worldview, ordinary men simply do not deserve her. These warped values took root as early as 3rd grade. Even back then, having a boyfriend felt like the most glamorous thing in the world to her. That vanity followed her all the way into middle school. And it was in middle school that the attention-hungry Lee Ju-yeon first noticed the boy who was always being bullied, Lee Yoon-seong. When she looks back on those days now, what she put Lee Yoon-seong through is something he still cannot bring himself to speak about. After dating a wealthy second-generation heir, Lee Ju-yeon gained complete clarity on what she truly wanted. She understood that getting what she wanted meant scheming without limits. People cannot help but stare at Lee Ju-yeon draped in luxury. She flaunts it shamelessly, boasting that her wealthy boyfriend bought all of it. She announces openly that she has more than one boyfriend, which is why Lee Ju-yeon has another, more fitting nickname, the Mad Woman. The cruelty Lee Ju-yeon inflicted on Lee Yoon-seong back then went far beyond physical violence. The things she put him through were sick and unhinged. They are burned into Lee Yoon-seong's memory to this day. He has made his decision. Every bit of suffering she put him through will be returned to her, in full, without a single piece missing. Joanna listens in stunned silence, struggling to imagine just how far Lee Ju-yeon's cruelty had gone. She hesitates and asks, are they really going after a girl this time? Lee Yoon-seong shakes his head. This plan is entirely different from anything they have done before. He intends to start by dismantling everyone around Lee Ju-yeon first. No underhanded tricks, no ambushes, just a direct, open confrontation. He will strip away every single person who props her up, one by one, until there is nothing left, and then he will face her himself, because the moment anyone moves against Lee Ju-yeon, the men around her will come out swinging. Joanna raises an eyebrow. Just how many men are we talking about? When you count them all up, roughly 100. Not just romantic interests, but gang enforcers from multiple territories as well. Add it all together, about 100 people. Joanna is speechless. They are going to take down 100 people? This drawn-out mission sounds reckless, even overreaching. Lee Yoon-seong admits it is a stretch, but this is a path he has to see through to the end. Kwon Chang-soo, who has been quiet this whole time, finally speaks. Going it alone would be a stretch, sure, but with a few people who actually have each other's backs, it is absolutely doable. Joanna lets out a long, exasperated sigh, and then commits anyway. She is in. But how long is this going to take, she wants to know, so she can prepare properly. Lee Yoon-seong thinks for a moment, then answers slowly, about 6 months. 6 months pass in what feels like no time. Word is already spread across the city. People everywhere are talking. Someone is systematically taking apart every network surrounding Lee Ju-yeon. Everyone is calling these Avengers completely unhinged. Anyone who crosses their path will pay dearly, and in the very next moment, Lee Yoon-seong and Kwon Chang-soo kick open the gang's door. Kwon Chang-soo asks in a flat, icy voice, is this the Do-bong-san crew? He shouts for the boss to show his face. He is here to take them all out. He makes it clear, every single one of Lee Ju-yeon's associates is going down, one by one. Lee Yoon-seong tries to clarify, they are not here to kill anyone, just to talk. But a gang member swings a wooden bat at him before he can finish. Lee Yoon-seong's reflexes are sharp. He sidesteps the surprise attack without missing a beat. The Do-bong-san crew sneers. These two think they can come after their girl? Just two people picking a fight with the entire Do-bong-san crew? The wrestling captain of the Do-bong-san crew, Hong Daek-man, steps forward. He sizes up Kwon Chang-soo with a mocking smirk. He looks like he has got some muscle on him, sure, but when it comes to raw strength, Hong Daek-man has never lost. Not once. He reaches out to grab Kwon Chang-soo, and Kwon Chang-soo drives a heavy punch straight into his face. Blood pours from Hong Daek-man's nose immediately. A rapid chain of follow-up punches, and within seconds Hong Daek-man is forced to recognize the gap between them. Raw strength alone is not what makes a fighter dangerous. Real power lives in precision and the kind of skill that only years of grueling training can build. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Lee Yoon-seong slowly takes off his hat. Time to wrap this up quickly. If they are back too late, Joanna will not let him hear the end of it. They finish the fight and head back before long. Joanna is pacing anxiously when they return and rushes over to check on them both. Kwon Chang-soo, trying to sound cool, says that a man's life out in the world is bound to get rough. Joanna turns to Lee Yoon-seong, checks him over, and only relaxes once she is sure he is alright. Lee Yoon-seong takes the moment to ask how the research he asked her to compile is coming along. Joanna responds immediately. She has finished mapping out the Sun family connections, and Lee Ju-yeon's entire network. She also had Lim Jong-gun, their legal contact, help them navigate and minimize legal risks. The 6-month plan is proceeding on schedule. Lee Ju-yeon is already starting to look rattled and unsteady. Over 6 months they have dismantled the vast majority of the forces she relies on. With the Dobong-sang crew dealt with today, only 3 targets remain, but these last 3 are nothing like the small fry they have been clearing out all this time. Joanna shakes her head inwardly. That woman Lee Ju-yeon is truly out of her mind. 5 years ago, Lee Ju-yeon was just an ordinary middle school girl. She spent most of her time scrolling through social media, and her cute sweet face had already earned her a decent following online. She was a minor internet personality. Her favorite thing to do was live stream from the classroom and chat with her followers. Then one day, Lee Yoon-seong was being bullied again, and the entire humiliating scene was captured live on Lee Ju-yeon's stream. Once the footage was out, Lee Ju-yeon scrambled to cover it up, claiming it was just friends messing around. Then she cut the stream. She turned on the boys who had been doing the hitting, furious. Why did they have to pull this stunt while she was live? Park Sang-chul said he did not know, then turned on Lee Yoon-seong and forced him to apologize. If this ruined Lee Ju-yeon's online career, Lee Yoon-seong would answer for it. Lee Ju-yeon called Park Sang-chul a lunatic, then immediately switched to a sweet tone and asked Lee Yoon-seong for a favor. She wanted to go back live and have Lee Yoon-seong tell the viewers that nothing had happened. Just say it was all a joke between friends. Simple. She even thoughtfully told him to wipe off the blood from his nose before the camera came back on. That was supposed to be a rare, quiet day for Lee Yoon-seong. A brief moment of rest in an otherwise brutal stretch of days. Instead, it became the darkest turning point of his life. A teacher came rushing to find him, bringing devastating news. Lee Yoon-seong's sister had left behind a letter and disappeared without a trace. The day his sister was gone, the weather was calm and clear, but Lee Yoon-seong felt a cold so deep it cut straight to the bone. Still raw from his sister's death, Lee Yoon-seong was met with Lee Ju-yeon, and she was every bit as extreme and unhinged as ever. Lee Ju-yeon showed up to confront him, complaining that he had missed school for days and made her wait, blaming him for not answering his phone. Then, with complete self-righteous certainty, she demanded he keep his promise and go online to calm the public reaction. Even though the funeral had just ended, she pushed him to force a smile, held her phone up and pointed the camera at him. Lee Yoon-seong, hollowed out with grief, finally snapped and told her to get away from him. He asked her how she could call herself a human being. Lee Ju-yeon's mask dropped instantly. She unleashed a torrent of vicious curses at him. For treating her like this, she swore she would make his life unbearable. She had countless guys ready to back her up, and from now on things would get 10 times worse for him. Lee Ju-yeon is emotionally extreme, and her thinking is unlike anyone else's. This woman radiates danger from every direction. No one can ever predict what she will do next. Now, only 3 people remain in Lee Ju-yeon's inner circle, and these 3 are almost certainly her most trusted and valued allies. At this very moment, Lee Ju-yeon is playing the victim, tearfully pouring her heart out to one of them. Boyo Guk-bong's heart immediately goes out to her. He thinks she's too naive and pure for this cruel world. He stays by her side, listening as Lee Ju-yeon pours out the exhaustion she's been carrying for days. She deliberately brings up Sun Jong-hwan. The people around her keep disappearing one by one, and she's been living in constant fear and dread. Boyo Guk-bong immediately reassures her. He would never let any lowlife get away with hurting a woman. Confident in his past record, he swears he will protect Lee Ju-yeon. He blames the cowards who terrorize women for giving all men a bad name. He promises he won't let them off easy. Meanwhile, Lee Yoon-seong has already done his homework on Boyo Guk-bong. Boyo Guk-bong was once a competitive taekwondo athlete, but deep down he's always had a violent streak. He served 2 years in prison for a sexual offense. Combined with his reckless aggression, he's a hopeless piece of scum that society has long given up on. Lee Yoon-seong already has the perfect plan to deal with trash like him. He quietly creates a fake social media account and waits patiently for the right moment. On the other side, Boyo Guk-bong is growing frustrated. He's been lurking and waiting but hasn't managed to make his move. His mind keeps feeding him sick fantasies about conquering Lee Ju-yeon, so he falls back on his flashy car to fake some charm, using his Ferrari to lure unsuspecting young girls. When a girl named Soo Young gushes over how impressive his car is, he's smugly pleased with himself, silently grateful for his wealthy background. He drives to a remote parking lot and waits for the fish to bite. He preys on a girl's compliance, wallowing in the sick thrill of control. Just as he's savoring his little victory, Lee Yoon-seong, in disguise, suddenly approaches him. Boyo Guk-bong assumes it's just some runaway kid who doesn't know better. He's quietly annoyed with himself for not checking in advance whether this person might carry some disease, but as the figure gets closer, he realizes it's a man. He explodes in rage, furious that he's been tricked, but when he gets a good look at the face, he instantly recognizes Lee Yoon-seong, the one who's been going after Lee Ju-yeon. He's been wanting to run into Lee Yoon-seong for a long time, but he's annoyed that Lee Yoon-seong keeps his hands stuffed in his pockets and snaps at him to take them out. Lee Yoon-seong, however, has already prepared everything he needs to deal with trash like this. He doesn't move an inch. He calmly tells Boyo Guk-bong that his second mentor personally taught him real combat skills. He's mastered a unique fighting style all his own. Even with both hands in his pockets, he can flatten Boyo Guk-bong without breaking a sweat. Boyo Guk-bong sneers, not taking Lee Yoon-seong seriously for even a second. All talk and no skill. Yet he dares to run his mouth and challenge him. As far as Boyo Guk-bong is concerned, Lee Yoon-seong has only beaten a few worthless nobodies, nowhere near qualified to act tough in front of him. But fine, He'll humor Lee Yoon-seong today. If he drags him in front of Lee Ju-yeon, it'll surely win her over. He launches into a flying kick right away, but every single attack is smoothly dodged by Lee Yoon-seong. He can't land a single hit. The moment Byeo-guk-bong's focus slips, Lee Yoon-seong seizes the opening and drives a hard kick straight into his ankle. A sharp searing pain explodes through his ankle, and Byeo-guk-bong's whole body shudders. Before he can recover, Lee Yoon-seong strikes again, going straight for that same injured leg. The pain is blinding, and Byeo-guk-bong can't help but howl and curse. He accuses Lee Yoon-seong of fighting dirty, of targeting the same spot over and over. He launches another flying kick. Lee Yoon-seong stays completely calm and sidesteps it with ease. Then he attacks again, locking onto that same injured spot. Byeo-guk-bong is completely losing it. He can't figure out why Lee Yoon-seong keeps hammering the same place. Then, in the next instant, the electronic ankle monitor strapped to Byeo-guk-bong shatters. He stares at the broken monitor, stunned. Lee Yoon-seong says with a smirk, "The ankle monitor is broken. Looks like this little game is over." Word is, once the Ministry of Justice detects a monitor going offline, they'll show up to make an arrest within 30 minutes. Those words push Byeo-guk-bong over the edge. He charges forward in a rage. He arrogantly declares he'll beat Lee Yoon-seong flat in 5 minutes. Consumed by fury, Byeo-guk-bong throws a series of flying kicks and misses every single one. Lee Yoon-seong lifts his foot and stomps hard on that injured ankle again, then drives another powerful kick straight into his chest. Byeo-guk-bong is baffled. Lee Yoon-seong trains in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so how is he this skilled with his legs? Could it be that Lee Yoon-seong has a powerful mentor in the shadows secretly training him in kicking techniques? It all goes back to his second mentor. The mentor didn't say a word, just kicked him once, then told him to come watch how he fought at the training ground for a while. That would be enough to pick it up. And just like that, Lee Yoon-seong taught himself the rest. He uses that very same technique, one kick, and sends Byeo-guk-bong staggering with a bloody nose. Bitterness and humiliation surge through Byeo-guk-bong. He simply cannot accept that he's been beaten by someone so unremarkable. In a daze, Byeo-guk-bong sees something in Lee Yoon-seong, a ghost from years ago. The mysterious figure who crushed him. Years ago, at the National Taekwondo Selection Tournament, that person stood there with both hands in his pockets, arrogant and dismissive. The referee called the match to start. Everyone was waiting to watch that cocky competitor get humiliated. But the outcome shocked everyone. Within moments, Byeo-guk-bong was beaten black and blue. He couldn't accept the loss. He couldn't believe he had actually lost like that. Now he wonders, did Lee Yoon-seong secretly learn those kicks from that same arrogant fighter all those years ago? Lee Yoon-seong speaks up, his voice dripping with mockery. "Didn't you say you'd finish me in 5 minutes? It's only been 3. Those words hit like a slap. Byeo-guk-bong burns with rage. He lashes out, accusing Lee Yoon-seong of going after nothing but weak points. He refuses to let this go. Today, Lee Yoon-seong will pay dearly. He shouts into the shadows, calling out his backup. Shin Chang-jae and his companions step out slowly, muttering that Byeo-guk-bong is completely addicted to that app. They knew it would come to this. They warned him to watch out for this opponent. They told him to always carry a stun gun when going out. These two are no innocents either, both convicted of aggravated sexual assault twice over. The Byeo-guk-bong standing here now is a shadow of who he was. A disgrace to every Taekwondo athlete who ever competed. It all clicks for Lee Yoon-seong in an instant. They've been preying on women as a group all along. His expression turns ice cold as he waves all 3 of them forward. Against scum like this, he won't even need his hands. At this moment, Lee Ju-yeon is thoroughly fed up, complaining that Byeo-guk-bong is clingy and getting more out of control by the day. He's constantly after one thing, and he's long since outlived his usefulness to her. She decides to quietly reach out to someone close to her and have Byeo-guk-bong dealt with for good. After that, she'll erase every trace of him from her contacts. Just then, her phone rings and cuts off her thoughts. She picks up, assuming it's Byeo-guk-bong, but the voice on the other end is cold and unmistakable. It's Lee Yoon-seong. Long time no see. He tells her exactly who he is. No games, no pretense. He's already personally taken care of Byeo-guk-bong. Now it's just the two of them. Once everyone else is handled, she's next. Lee Ju-yeon sounds completely calm, not even slightly surprised. She scoffs. All that big talk from Byeo-guk-bong, and he ends up losing this badly. She plays innocent and asks Lee Yoon-seong, why go through all the trouble of removing everyone around her, instead of just coming straight for her? What's the point? Is it because of what happened back then? When Lee Yoon-seong says nothing, she can't help but tease him. You haven't forgotten, have you? I was sincere with you that day. I remember exactly what happened between us. 5 years ago in the classroom. The teacher stares in disbelief. He can't make sense of what this student in front of him is saying. She's claiming he touched her and threatened her into silence. Lee Ju-yeon speaks in a cold, flat voice, detailing every instance, down to the minute, of how he touched her and warned her to keep quiet. Then she threatens to blast it across every social media platform until it blows up. The teacher panics. She only came to ask about her grades. Lee Ju-yeon's gaze turns even colder. It seems he still doesn't understand the situation he's in. She is a female middle school student. If she insists she was sexually harassed, even if every word is a lie, he has no way to prove otherwise. What will his wife and children think? The teacher is in despair, completely at a loss. What did he ever do to deserve this? Lee Ju-yeon says simply, no particular reason. Then she brings up Lee Yoon-seong from their class. From this moment on, she tells the teacher he does exactly as she says. And so, from the moment her sister's funeral ended, Lee Ju-yeon latched onto Lee Yoon-seong, and the relentless torment began. Even the homeroom teacher and every subject teacher were brought under her control through threats. It wasn't just Park Sang-cheol and Jo Young-byum leading the abuse in class. Countless strangers were swept in too. Finally, finding new ways to torment Lee Yoon-seong. Lee Ju-yeon watches it all with deep satisfaction. This cruel performance is just reaching its peak. She sends Lee Yoon-seong a private message, "Don't leave after school." Lee Yoon-seong is confused, with no idea what she's planning. Lee Ju-yeon walks straight over and straddles him, her tone playful and unsettling. She says the first time she saw Lee Yoon-seong she found him strange and fascinating. Born with nothing, his life full of hardship, yet he still clenches his teeth and fights to keep living. So she decided she would keep Lee Yoon-seong as her personal plaything for life. Then she makes a request that is beyond disturbing. She says she's curious. She wants to touch and lick the scars on his face. Lee Yoon-seong is furious. He's about to call her out of her mind, when the vice principal walks in and immediately orders them both to the school office, intending to discipline them both for this disgraceful behavior. Lee Ju-yeon had already planned for this. Her original goal was to use this incident to force Lee Yoon-seong out of school. Fortunately, compulsory education policies protected him. He only received a formal demerit, but the real torment and suffering came after this. Not long after, the end-of-term assessments arrive. The teacher announces that part of the final grade will be based on community service activities. 20% of the total score is tied to volunteer work helping low-income families. Students are encouraged to choose service that aligns with their own dreams and future goals. All volunteer activities must be documented with photos and videos. No exceptions, no fabrication allowed. Lee Ju-yeon rolls her eyes. What kind of impoverished families even exist in the 21st century? Then it hits her. Lee Yoon-seong and his struggling household. She immediately tells her followers to bring a camera. Under the guise of filming volunteer footage, she plans to show up at Lee Yoon-seong's home and make their lives miserable. Lee Ju-yeon has always dreamed of becoming a professional hairstylist. So in this sham act of charity, the first victim is Lee Yoon-seong's grandmother. When Lee Yoon-seong rushes home in a panic, his grandmother is sitting on the floor, every strand of hair shaved off, staring blankly into nothing. Afterward, Lee Ju-yeon submits the video of herself giving the old woman a haircut, and walks away with a top score. Lee Yoon-seong has never let himself forget any of it. Not just her, Park Sang-cheol, Jo Young-byum, every single person who raised a hand against him. He remembers them all, every follower who joined in the abuse and humiliation. He will not let a single one of them go easily, not in this lifetime. Lee Ju-yeon is still arrogant as ever, dismissing Lee Yoon-seong entirely. "You can't even touch a single hair on my head." Taking down Bio Gukbong means nothing. It won't shake her position at all. She still has someone in her corner, a man with ties to the criminal underworld. His capabilities are in a completely different league from the small fry Lee Yoon-seong has dealt with so far. Lee Yoon-seong's voice stays calm and cold. That dangerous criminal she's counting on. Gwon Chang-soo took care of him in 15 minutes. Lee Ju-yeon's face falls. She can't believe he went down that easily. Lee Yoon-seong is now just one step away from her. He tells her to stay put and wait. He'll be there soon. The call ends. Lee Ju-yeon tries to convince herself it's all a bluff. He's just trying to scare her. But in her panic, she frantically dials the criminal contact. The line just rings and rings. No answer. That's when the fear truly sets in. She can't believe that every person she's relied on is gone. Sheer panic washes over her. She doesn't know what to do. Then another call comes in. From Bio Gukbong's number. Lee Ju-yeon freezes, so tense she can barely swallow. Lee Yoon-seong's voice comes through, calm and measured. He forgot to mention one more thing. In 10 minutes, he will personally be standing at her front door. He has no intention of showing mercy, and he won't be giving her time to beg or stall. Then he recites her exact address in Seong-su-dong. Every detail, perfectly accurate. He has crafted a special ending, one designed just for someone as wicked as her. Meanwhile, the pink-haired man has been trying to reach Lee Ju-yeon with no luck. Something feels off. He decides to head to her place immediately. Lee Ju-yeon is shaking from head to toe. She needs someone else to call, someone else she can use. And just like that, she dials the next fool she can pull in. Park Ju-chan picks up right away. He asks anxiously if she's alright. He's been unable to reach her and has been worried sick. He's already on his way to her place. Lee Ju-yeon's voice breaks as she brings up Lee Yoon-seong, the one she told Park Ju-chan about before. She breaks down crying. He's come for her today, and he's threatening to kill her. He's already eliminated everyone around her. Now it's her turn. Overwhelmed by fear, she begs Park Ju-chan to come and protect her. Park Ju-chan forces himself to stay steady and patiently talks Lee Ju-yeon down, telling her to breathe and calm down. Once he confirms that Lee Yoon-seong is already on his way to her apartment, Park Ju-chan moves fast and arrives at the base of her building. The moment he steps out, he locks eyes with Lee Yoon-seong, who's here for exactly one reason. He decides to take care of this problem first, then go upstairs to his girlfriend. He walks straight over and blocks Lee Yoon-seong's path. He demands to know. Showing up at a woman's home like this is completely out of line. Lee Yoon-seong sizes him up instantly. This is Lee Ju-yeon's last line of defense, and the only man she has ever genuinely loved. That makes him curious. Looking more carefully, he becomes even more curious about the special organization badge Park Ju-chan is wearing. Park Ju-chan plays it mysterious. He doesn't explain, what neither of them says aloud. That badge isn't actually his. He took it from someone else. But the origin of the badge doesn't matter right now. What matters is that Lee Yoon-seong has been coming after the woman he loves, so he's going to put Lee Yoon-seong down and make sure Ju-yeon never has to suffer again. He sets down the flowers in his hand, says nothing, and drives his fist straight at Lee Yoon-seong. Lee Yoon-seong reacts instantly, raising his arm and blocking the blow clean. Park Joo-chan hadn't expected Lee Yoon-seong to walk right into him, actually saves him some effort. This is the perfect chance to finish him off, a gift for Lee Joo-yeon. But Lee Yoon-seong grabs Park Joo-chan by the sleeve and yanks him hard, pulling him in close. Then his knee comes up and drives into Park Joo-chan's stomach with everything he has. The pain is brutal, and strangely the fighting style feels oddly familiar to Park Joo-chan. He can't help but ask, "Who taught you to fight like this?" A name is forming in his mind, but before he can get the words out, Lee Yoon-seong unleashes a series of sharp, powerful flying kicks, coming at Park Joo-chan again and again. After several exchanges, Lee Yoon-seong is genuinely surprised. Park Joo-chan can take a hit far better than he expected. Park Joo-chan grits through the pain, steadies himself and finds his opening, launching a heavy punch. He sends Lee Yoon-seong flying. Lee Yoon-seong watches him, powerful and composed, and can't quite figure this man out. Someone this capable. Why would he choose to stand by Lee Joo-yeon? Park Joo-chan winds up for a flying kick, and it's about to connect. Lee Yoon-seong moves fast. He locks both legs around Park Joo-chan's neck in a tight scissor hold, then explodes with force and kicks hard. The impact slams Park Joo-chan into the ground. Lee Yoon-seong speaks. He doesn't want to watch this man get played. He asks, "Do you actually know what kind of person Lee Joo-yeon is? Do you know what she did to others?" But Park Joo-chan is completely blinded by love. None of it shakes his resolve to protect her. He refuses to hold her past against her. He would never abandon her just because she made mistakes. As he says it, he explodes with everything he has. He hurls Lee Yoon-seong off him, then charges forward. He throws punch after punch, unleashing all of his fury. Lee Yoon-seong sees the tide turning against him and grabs Park Joo-chan by the waist, flipping him and throwing him hard. He didn't expect Park Joo-chan to hold on to such a twisted belief, and yet this man sees himself as the righteous one. A man this dangerous, one who clings to a false conviction and defends the guilty without question. The two of them clash for a long time. Neither one backs down. Just as the fight reaches its most intense point, police sirens suddenly pierce the air. Officers arrive on the scene. A cry for help comes from upstairs. The bystanders recognize Lee Yoon-seong immediately. They know he's connected to the Shin Min-to-woo case. Everyone reaches for their phones. Park Joo-chan looks at the arriving officers and the growing crowd. The situation just became a lot more complicated. From the window above, Lee Joo-yeon cries out to the police. She screams that Lee Yoon-seong is a stalker who's trying to kill her. She keeps begging the officers to act now, terrified that the danger is 1 second away. Lee Yoon-seong watches her performance from below, his eyes full of contempt. He knew she'd call the police. This is her final move. Lee Joo-yeon has always been the kind of scum who hides behind her identity as a woman and uses cheap tricks to twist the truth. From the moment he set out to find her, he knew she would try to frame him. But the real stalker, the one who should have been reported long ago, was never him. He's already prepared something special for Lee Joo-yeon, a cockroach hiding under her bed. The moment of revenge has finally come. He swears to return every ounce of suffering she caused him, with interest. When Lee Yoon-seong and Kwon Chang-soo were training for 6 months to take down Lee Joo-yeon's ex-boyfriends, Choi Kyung-myung watched with pure envy. He wanted in. He wanted to be just as strong. Lee Yoon-seong shuts him down coldly. "Don't push your luck." Then he gives Choi Kyung-myung his real assignment. For the next 6 months, not a single moment of rest. He must shadow Lee Joo-yeon without ever being seen, watching her every move, like a cockroach lurking in the gutters, clinging to her every shadow. Park Joo-chan stares at the harassing messages on Lee Joo-yeon's phone, wondering who this disturbed person is who's been watching her every move. Lee Joo-yeon looks helpless. She's been living under this hidden surveillance for 4 months now. Her packages keep getting opened without her knowledge. Her personal items keep disappearing without explanation. She's been living in Lee Yoon-seong's shadow for so long that she desperately turns to her boyfriend for support. Park Joo-chan is heartbroken for her and swears without hesitation that he will protect her no matter what. But the person behind these acts of sabotage, he can't catch them. What neither of them knows is that this shadow has been right there with her all along. He keeps repeating it to himself. He is a cockroach, creeping at the edges of Lee Joo-yeon's world. On the night Lee Joo-yeon calls the police, Choi Kyung-myung lies beneath her bed and knows the moment has come. Lee Yoon-seong has already calculated everything. He'll draw all eyes away at precisely the right moment. He anticipated every possible variable before setting this plan in motion. Over the course of 6 full months, Choi Kyung-myung poured everything into learning every detail of Lee Joo-yeon's daily life. From when she wakes up and what she eats, to every person she's close to, he learned it all. Her every date, her every move. Nothing escaped his watch. He became her ever-present shadow. The long wait is finally over. Every ounce of accumulated exhaustion drains away in this moment. He lets himself breathe. He walks out of his hiding spot without a care, brushing right past the arriving officers. Lee Joo-yeon, in full panic, sees the police and feels like salvation has arrived. The officers confirm her identity. They ask if she is Lee Joo-yeon. She immediately confirms it and bursts out with accusations. The hooded man, Lee Yoon-seong, has been stalking her and threatened to silence her for good. She urges them to act fast, terrified her boyfriend might get hurt. But the officer's next words stop her cold. They didn't come because of her stalking complaint. Lee Joo-yeon's mind goes blank. What? the officers explain. Someone filed an anonymous tip reporting that a large quantity of illegal substances is being stored in her home, likely hallucinogenic drugs, and multiple reports have come in under real names as well. With her identity confirmed, the officers immediately move to conduct a lawful search of the entire premises. Lee Ju-yeon snaps back furiously. There is absolutely nothing like that in her home. She screams that they're making things up. The officers move quickly and find the drugs tucked into a gap beneath the bed. Having completed his mission, Choi Kyung-myung is overwhelmed. His eyes go red. He had planted the drugs all over the apartment, hidden in every concealed corner, like a cockroach laying eggs throughout its territory. Choi Kyung-myung is bursting with pride. Mission complete. Down below, Park Ju-chan senses that something has gone wrong. He doesn't want more bystanders gathering. He needs to end this fast. Lee Yoon-seong turns and runs without a word, leaving behind a baffled Park Ju-chan, demanding to know what this is all about. Lee Yoon-seong shoots him a farewell gesture as he runs. His goal is already accomplished. There's no reason to stay. Park Ju-chan seethes and moves to chase after him, when Lee Ju-yeon's screams suddenly erupt from the apartment above, raging at the officers conducting the search. She breaks down, demanding to know how they dare to barge into a woman living alone. The officers ignore her fury and keep calmly cataloging the seized substances. Even her threats to accuse them of harassment do nothing. Hearing Lee Ju-yeon's cries, Park Ju-chan is frantic. He abandons everything and sprints upstairs. Lee Yoon-seong watches it all with cold detachment. This long overdue retribution has finally found her, but she shouldn't panic too much, because all he intends to return to her is the exact same suffering she once put him through. Every wound that cut to the bone, every scar that never quite healed, she will experience all of it, every last piece. Lee Ju-yeon stares at the hair that had to be shaved off. She breaks down completely and weeps. She swears she will never let Lee Yoon-seong off easy. Helpless, she turns to her boyfriend. What do they do now? Thanks to him, she's managed to temporarily clear herself of the drug possession charges. She wasn't detained or questioned, but she once accidentally consumed hallucinogenic drugs at a party. Someone gave them to her. She didn't know what they were. If that comes to light during the investigation, she has no way out. With nowhere else to turn, Park Ju-chan is her only lifeline, because even with her hair shaved off, traces of prior drug use can still be detected. The moment the police call her in for further questioning, every mask she wears will be stripped away. In her panic, she catches sight of the clumps of cut hair on the floor, and suddenly thinks of Lee Yoon-seong. She suddenly remembers the day she cruelly cut Lee Yoon-seong's grandmother's hair. A cold wave of dread washes over her. In this moment, she finally understands. All of this was planned by Lee Yoon-seong, a targeted act of revenge. The drugs were planted deliberately, to force her to shave her own head. Lee Ju-yeon finally sees it clearly. Every wrong she committed is being returned to her, one for one. Park Ju-chan hurries to calm his spiraling girlfriend, speaking softly and urging her to breathe. Lee Yoon-seong's depth of cunning and ruthlessness goes far beyond anything he imagined. He's willing to use absolutely any means to carry out his revenge, and combined with his formidable fighting ability, if left unchecked, this will end in disaster. Park Ju-chan makes up his mind. He has to stop Lee Yoon-seong before the worst happens. He turns back to Lee Ju-yeon and tells her, if Lee Yoon-seong is set on revenge, he will fight with everything he has to protect her. But she has to be honest with him. She needs to tell him the worst thing she ever did to Lee Yoon-seong. He knows Lee Yoon-seong will use it as the killing blow. The moment the buried past comes up, Lee Ju-yeon's expression falters. She stutters and stalls, unable to bring herself to speak. Images of Lee Yoon-seong in despair, attempting to end his life, keep flashing through her mind. She doesn't have the courage to confess. She eventually forces out a vague version of the truth. Park Ju-chan stares at her in disbelief. He thinks she must be lying. He never imagined Lee Ju-yeon was capable of something so utterly without humanity. Kwon Chang-soo eats slowly and sighs. It's been a long time since he's had food that tastes like home. The table is warm and easy, everyone at ease. Joanna says she's a little surprised by the way Lee Yoon-seong chose to take his revenge on Lee Ju-yeon. Lee Yoon-seong says plainly, what else would it be? He returned exactly what was given. The revenge plan has reached its final phase. Lee Ju-yeon shouldn't dare make any bold moves for a while. The real problem now is Park Ju-chan, the man who refuses to let go of Lee Ju-yeon. He'll use every connection and every instinct he has to keep her shielded, and he's both a strong fighter and a sharp thinker, calculating and hard to read. He's a real problem. Before he can finish, Park Ju-chan suddenly appears, saying he appreciates all the kind words they were saying about him behind his back. It took quite a bit of effort to track down this little place where they were hiding. He casually pulls over a chair and sits down, telling them to continue. He turns it around and asks them, so what exactly are you planning to do with him and Lee Ju-yeon? Lee Yoon-seong was still thinking about how to find him, and he walked right in on his own. Since he's here, no point in small talk. Take it outside and settle this. But Park Ju-chan cuts him off, his expression bold and unapologetic. Without a word, he drives a hard punch straight into Choi Kyung-myung's jaw. He's not going outside with them. Nobody in this place is leaving today. He's going to finish every single one of them right here. Kwon Chang-soo's rage ignites instantly. He throws a hard punch at Park Ju-chan. He roars, mealtime is sacred, and this man has the nerve to disrespect it. He follows up with a vicious uppercut. Park Ju-chan takes the hit hard and stumbles back several steps. He didn't expect someone with that build to move that fast. His skill and technique are genuinely impressive. impressive. Kwon Chang-soo presses the advantage and throws another heavy punch. He thinks he's finally got this slippery opponent cornered. In a split second, Park Ju-chan grabs a bottle of chili powder from the table. He hurls the entire contents straight into Kwon Chang-soo's face. The burning is immediate and overwhelming. Kwon Chang-soo can't believe that even after landing a hit, his opponent could still counter. While Kwon Chang-soo is blinded, Park Ju-chan grabs the overhead beam. He swings up and locks both legs around Kwon Chang-soo's head, then drives down with full force, slamming Kwon Chang-soo into the floor. Park Ju-chan says with a smirk, all that experience, and Kwon Chang-soo still can't beat him. He casually picks up a frying pan and explains. He wasn't just tanking those hits, he was blocking them with this. Without mercy, he brings the frying pan crashing down. Besides, in a fight like this, Kwon Chang-soo has no right to feel hard done by. This isn't a boxing ring. There are no rules here. Just fighting with everything you've got. With Kwon Chang-soo handled, Park Ju-chan walks slowly toward Lee Yoon-seong and Joanna. Just you two left. Lee Yoon-seong lets out a tired sigh. Who starts a brawl in the middle of the day? He thought Park Ju-chan was smart enough not to do something this reckless. Park Ju-chan finds that amusing. Being called smart means nothing to him. His logic is simple. Take them down, and Lee Ju-yeon can finally be happy. So he swings the frying pan again. Lee Yoon-seong swerves out of the way in an instant. Park Ju-chan admits he's heard about what Lee Yoon-seong went through, what was done to him, even the worst of it, the most unforgivable thing. He knows all of it. 5 years ago, Lee Ju-yeon had her people beat Han Ji-hoon. She threatened Han Ji-hoon to talk. Why had he been seen leaving a coin karaoke room with Lee Yoon-seong? She demanded to know the truth of their relationship. Han Ji-hoon panicked and spilled everything, every detail of what went on between them. Lee Ju-yeon's expression shifted the moment she heard it. She decided the two of them had something inappropriate going on. She forced Han Ji-hoon to film it as evidence. Her plan, use it to pressure Lee Yoon-seong into dropping out. But when the video leaked, Lee Yoon-seong didn't drop out. He tried to take his own life in a school bathroom. He barely survived, only to be accused of faking it for sympathy. Park Ju-chan says he's sorry. He says he feels for Lee Yoon-seong. But even knowing everything Lee Ju-yeon has done, he still chooses to stand by her, no conditions. And he drives his fists into Lee Yoon-seong. Relentless, without mercy, a final flying kick, and Lee Yoon-seong is sent crashing across the room. His reason is simple. Lee Ju-yeon was the first person who ever reached out and saved him. Joanna has had enough. She tells Park Ju-chan to stop talking so much. Lee Yoon-seong, badly hurt, pulls himself back to his feet. He snaps out a sharp crescent kick, clean, fast, and brutal. The force of it is tremendous. Park Ju-chan coughs up blood on the spot. And in that moment, Lee Yoon-seong finally figures it out. Park Ju-chan's real purpose for being here, coming alone against multiple opponents, causing a scene in broad daylight. It was never normal. He risked himself for one reason, to buy Lee Ju-yeon time to escape.